Hello everybody and welcome to the R6 Central Combine Open Qualifier 1. I'm Jerry the Music Man and I am joined by a wonderful special guest. I am joined by Rose here. How are you doing, Rose?
Doing pretty good. We've had a spicy day so far to the combine. We've had our eventful moments, as I'm pretty sure anyone on Twitter has seen by now.
Yep.
But we'll actually finally get into a game now very, very shortly, which is going to be an absolute spicy game, as we once see Dunlimited, who actually, due to the Twitter beef, were able to actually move on without, having to play the semi-final. So it's going to be an
Yep.
interesting one, Jerry.
Yep, there's been a lot of interesting behind the scenes action. So we're just going to have a quick look at this map bound phase. Dunlimited versus Team Valor are the teams on the docket for this semi-final. Fighting for a decent share of points in these qualifiers. In case you're unaware, there is a sort of cumulative point system. We have 4 open qualifiers, one today, one tomorrow, and then another 2 next weekend. And in each one, the further you make it, the more points you get. Simple as that. You get a lot of points, you make it into Combine. So, Dunlimited with that final ban of Villa opting essentially to go to Cafe, taking Valor there. So, we're going to have a good match here, I hope. These are two very sort of prominent teams in the scene, and there'll be a lot of names that we certainly recognise when we do get into game. And we're going to go straight there right now with the start of our ban phase. Rose, have you got any sort of thoughts about how this might pan out? Dunlimited, Team Valor, is there any favourites you have?
Honestly, Dunlimited, they've had kind of a rocky road. They've had their struggles and they've been having issues so far. But from what we've seen with them today, they've looked quite comfortable. They haven't struggled that much. And it looks like some of the kinks that they had, those little issues we saw back when they were in Titan Series, with Talent League, those little issues, they got grouped pretty quickly, which was quite unfortunate. But today, the issues that they seem to have had have kind of been more ruled out. So, Dunlimited, I would say, could potentially take this, but Valor are definitely not going to let them take that without a fight.
No, there's a lot of talent on the side of Valor as well. It's worth saying this is a team that have been knocking about for a while. Challenger League experience through and through from multiple years. And you've also got Rise of Wolves fame backing them up. A real veteran of the scene. He's been there, he's done it, no matter what it is. And, well, I mean, besides, like, winning a championship, we'll we'll put that past him.
That's
Everything else he's done. But, yeah, this is a scary, scary roster for any team to come up against. And, honestly, this is a proper semi-final.
Yeah, very, it's a solid semi-final. It's definitely going to be a lot of bloodshed here, especially on Cafe. Cafe is kind of one of those maps where, strategy is a major part to it, but there's also a heavy amount of gunfights that we'll be seeing here. It's not all going to be just a one-sided way of just everyone doing strategy. We will definitely see a lot of gunfights. But there's one thing to mention, that Nook has been taken off the board. Same with the Ying. So, you're taking out that sneaky operator of the Nook who can just, peek through the cracks in your armor and take those gunfights and just really decimate a team, if not spotted very quickly. And then the Ying plays, those Ying plays, we've seen them done before, Jerry. We know how strong they can be, especially on a map like Cafe.
Yeah, you think about how easy it is to access pretty much any site on this map. Really, the middle floor sites are the least direct approach possible ones from the attacking perspective. And that just means that Ying is going to have impact everywhere, right? Clearing the buff rooms, easy. Clearing the site, easy. So getting rid of that factor makes things a little bit clearer for things. But what's not going to be clearer is path for the attackers once they're in the way of a Fenrir gadget. We have these FNAT mines in play from Rise. It'll be exciting to see. We did see some Tier 1 action involving Fenrir during the week in the Tier 1 qualifiers. And I think the player as experienced as Rise should have probably had a fair amount of time to sort of toy around with what the possibilities are for these, really maximise their potential. So on a map like Cafe as well, you think about positions inside of this area here, Piano, which is going to be set up by the Azami. Those Fenrir gadgets can be absolutely deadly. If you wander into an open area like Piano, or even, the site itself, the long bar, one of those dread mines could just instantly spell your demise.
Yeah, and Cafe being one of those maps that has it's a really boxy map, and there's quite a long few angles on that map. If you can place those Fenrir gadgets in the right spots, the range of the FNAC going off will put the defenders at such a major advantage swinging into those gunfights, and the attackers are really going to have to burn a lot of utility here to try to clear them out, especially with having the Zami on the board as well. Your utility here is going to be drained very, very quickly, as, again, another thing to mention, the Zami, the Zami, the Aruni, there's so much utility to the side here of Valor are bringing. It's going to be a tough one here for Dunlimited to try to clear through, as, there is a lot to be dealt with.
Yeah, they do have the tools that they need, though. Those lifelines are going to aid in the destruction sort of category. We've got also those nades on Hypox and Skyper. Warwick already getting in this position. We're very used to seeing Azofia repelled on this spot, and Nako is made that Piano, the typical maze that you're used to seeing now within this army inside Piano. Takes a couple of shots there, but Warwick not lethal enough on the window. However, now it just means that Nako's going to be a little bit more passive. Skyper almost finding one for free at the top of the pipes, and Warwick, there we go, does finally secure the kill onto Nako. A clear of Piano within the first half of the round. Not too shabby from Dunlimited, but they do need to keep this pace up.
Yeah, Nade's going to come through into the bottom there, just flushing that Rooney back just a little bit, just kind of take her out of that position. But still going to be Rise here. That's going to try to put some pressure around the window. As double kills going to come out, as Skies finds one, as Rise also finds one on Hypex. And this round has now opened up 3 versus 4 as another shot comes through. Headshot of Rorik is going to fall, and Skies also going to find himself another one, finding himself a triple in the round, and it's all going to left down to Rise to find the final kill. And that was a flurry of kills coming out there in the last kind of 15-20 seconds.
Yeah, Dunlimited hit the trigger. They pulled the trigger. They hit the go button, and Valor were ready for it. Very, very ready for it. Especially, we had just everyone on that cocktail side taking names, and it was exceptionally reactive defending. They knew what was happening, and they just responded to it very effectively. So that first defensive round goes their way. Strangely, because Dunlimited did get that opening frag, so that is, you know, one mark in the column of an unconverted entry round for Dunlimited. They won't want that to be a continuing theme. Their entry game is always pretty solid. They just need to back it up with some round wins. Of course, only one round down. Early days.
It's very early days, you know. We're still quite new into the game. It's quite fresh, so we have a lot to discover here. Especially, you know, that round kind of not being converted after taking out the Azami as well. You know, you have that major key position taken up, and then it was just kind of a flurry, and everyone just kind of died within the first kind of 45 seconds. It was quite a collapse, to say the least, and Valor are looking quite strong. But then again, early days, and when the split does eventually happen, things could go completely different. You can't ever rule out here.
Yeah, Siege is a game of 2 halves, and no matter what happens in the first, it's going to be completely different in the second, especially on a map like Cafe. It's completely flipped. We have our second attack round. It's going to be towards the kitchen site, and we're seeing a Maru in play, as well as a Buck, both bringing those pocket hard breaches, I should say. And plenty of vertical destruction potential here. Not only have you got the Buck and the Sledge, but also Iwi bringing those breaching patches. Does mean that a lot of that redundancy is in place, but Jax is in place to take down Skyper as he just sends it into Piano very early round. Not was the droning? That just feels lackluster from Dunlimited, and an easy kill gathered by Team Valor at the very start of this one.
Yeah, just kind of not going there with drones. It's just kind of leaves quite a lot of questions to be answered, and losing the player that early on. I know you're kind of trying to play for more, you know, the aggression, but not having the drones. You have the Jackal as well on the board. If you kind of play that a little bit slower, then take your site, we probably could have seen the Alibi being taken down and Matt kind of taken into the favour of Dunlimited very, very early on. But this Alibi is going to be an absolute thorn in the side here unless they can draw her out.
She's causing some problems, but of course you've got those... I was about to say the Jackal scans, but it doesn't matter. Iwi is there to pick up Jax downstairs, and that's a nice little clean-up early on. A much-needed recovery for the loss of Skyper at the very start. And now Hypox and the plethora of options they have for self-destruction can get to work at making the kitchen a completely inhospitable environment. This is standard top-down cafe stuff. We're very used to seeing it. Open up these floors, force out those little worms down in the kitchen. But you have to contend with C4s sometimes. Iwi downed, but not out as Rise sends a care package his way. Hypox should be able to get the res off as there's not much utility left to be able to secure the kills. Bullets rain out from above, but Rise, maybe a missed opportunity there.
Yeah, close opportunity there, but he's still going to be watching through those cheese holes that have been placed in the ceiling. As Skies is going to be chilling on the red stairs, just waiting to see if any attackers are going to try to rotate past his way, as he's just waiting there with open arms. As this round has kind of stalled out, there's a lot of vertical being opened here. We're just in kind of a waiting game here now, Jerry. Just waiting for an attacker just to run on these red stairs. But I don't think they're too aware of that Jaeger's positioning, as you know, Norman's going to watch for this flank. But there's nothing really happening. Everything is kind of slowed down. We should see this kind of flurry of attack happen here very, very shortly. So
we've got some aggression.
Way through. The aggression's going to start coming here, Jerry.
Very close. Oh, he backs it up. He goes for the kill and he gets it. Skies with one. Skies with a second down. Can he get the third? No, it doesn't transfer quickly enough. But some heavy lifting done there. Iwi gets that refrag. Much needed 2 versus 2 with 25 seconds left now. And you still have Iwi above, trying to find bodies. And there's Raikos. She's lurking inside a freezer. Tries the rat play. All up to Nako now, coming through VIP. But Rorik has his number. A tetchy round, a sketchy round from Dunlimited, but they just about cover it. That red stairs flank almost had them completely, but they were able to transfer and recover. 1-1 the score. I think we're in for a good game.
We're in for a cracking game here. You know, that red stairs, as you mentioned, that was almost the demise of Dunlimited there. Not having someone on the flank drone, or not having a flank drone there in general. Just allowing that Jaeger just to lurk his way up that red stairs. And just being absolute thorn in the side, almost getting the triple kill on that one. That could have gone in so many different directions, Jerry. That was something else, to say the least.
Yeah, and speaking of directions, it's the second time we've seen a entry kill not go the direction of the team that got the entry. That's not the way to say it. The round going the way of the team that got the entry. So, interesting trend that's being set, contrary to the expected outcome. Turns out they really didn't need that Amaru, you know? They just send Skyper in, get him on cams. Maybe it's better that way. Of course I'm joking. We've seen Skyper in some of these, well, a lot of games over the past half a year or so since Unlimited picked him up, and he's been outstanding in a lot of senses, and it seems as though, you know, a lot of their or their recent troubles have been more down to the fact that he's not been performing to that level that you expect him to. But when he's on one, he's on one. At the moment, he's not on one, not on two. That early death in the last round. So we'll have to wait to see if he activates in this game. Once he does, Valor do have something to worry about. Skies, yeah, look at Skies. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in and say Skies 5-1. That's nuts.
That is absolutely. But still, once Skyper activates, if Skyper activates, we should mention this game is going to be one of the harder games here for the side of Valor, as that's, you know, pretty much Valor at the moment. They're just they're not getting carried essentially, but Sky is putting in those heavy works. He's carrying the team around just for the last 2 rounds. It's gonna be a tough one if he does eventually activate.
Oh, C4 sent out, and Skies claims his 6th of the game. Out of the skylight, you don't often see that one. Usually it's reserved for the hatches, but yeah, Nordwind just not expecting that. Doesn't get to put out his Flores drones either. That's really useful utility taken to the grave. And now Dunlimited once again a man down. In the very early round, they have to pick up the scraps here. Knowing this push down red hallway, can't find the FNAT drone, and he was just lingering, knowing that the drone ahead of him is covering the swing, so he is safe for the time being. Trying to find it. There it is. Spots it on the chandelier. The shot's being sent his way, but they won't connect, and Rorik will find that delayed refrag, taking out Nako with ephemera himself, as that support comes in from the mining window. It looks like they're going for a fairly quick approach, the sort of half clear, if you will, making sure that piano is clear and just going for that dining push by clearing out mining itself, ignoring reading entirely.
Yeah, just kind of ignoring reading entirely, and there's not that much site presence at all, so we could potentially see just a collapse here onto the site, as Skies is still going to be upstairs, just chilling in the cocktail area. And, you know, realistically, we could see a quite heavy push into the site, as I mentioned, it's empty. There's only the Valkyrie that's playing close. Jaeger's using the long angles from the wide stairs. But if you can just push your way in through that dining, this is going to be a clear side take for them, and it's going to be an insane retake.
They have options as well, now opening up these walls, and they have the player stationed outside of Hell. Great reactions from Rise to shoot back through the opening Selma breach, and he gets another, transfers onto Iwi beautifully, a 2k for the veteran in this game. He makes it 3! What incredible plays from the anchor. Rise, no one better in this situation. Hypox, though, does take out Skies to try and begin what would become a 1 versus 4 clutch. Sophia has plenty of tools in her arsenal, but they are all disposed of now. It's just a gun game. Rykos coming up from Brown. Doesn't react quickly enough, does Hypox. Very nice cleanup there from the SMG-wielding smoke player. But that was all about Rise in the site.
Rise going absolutely nuclear, to say the least, showing why he's a T1 player and showing how good he can be when he needs to be. You know, pulling the team through that round, essentially. What could have been an absolute dismal round from them, with the site being so empty and then having to go for retakes. Rise just said, not today, Buckaroo, and put his foot in the door. Did not let them walk through.
I don't think I've ever seen Rise say Buckaroo, but I would pay good money to hear it. Just in the
It would
French
be nice
accent.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, the French accent of the Buckaroo, I think that's something we need to get Rise to say at some point.
I cannot do a very good French accent. Buckaroo. Buckaroo.
That's absolutely perfect. That's, you know,
It's a tough word.
With me.
It's a tough word to say in a French accent. especially if you're
I
as
thought
bad as
Rise
I
was
am.
here with me. I thought Rise was
Really,
here with me.
really?
It was
Nah, you're
perfect.
just saying
It was
that. You're
perfect.
just saying that. I know it's the first time on the channel here. You don't need to make me feel good about myself. My accents are awful. These are one of the worst things. In fact, I made a promise to myself, and I've just broken it. I promised myself about a year ago that I would stop doing accents on stream, and I've now broken that rule. So,
I think we'll get you to do more. I think we'll get you to do more, honestly.
No, it's a terrible idea. Terrible idea.
We'll get in chat, see how many accents we can get Jerry to do by the end of the
God.
I think that's our challenge.
If we get enough... I don't know. I feel like there's a way of monetizing this, but I'm not a good enough streamer to think about it on the fly. We'll come up with that for maybe tomorrow's stream. We'll get like some
every sub Jerry gets he has to do a new accent. It's a brand new accent every sub.
God. No. That's not canon. We're not setting that in stone. We'll come up with something though. We'll come up with something. Maybe for game 2. We are covering the final after this game. We don't know who's going to be in it yet. Only 4 teams left in. We're waiting for the winner of Samba versus Texas Chainsaw to come up against the X10 style roster, who are calling themselves Calories, for that other semi-final. While this one takes place right now, Valor 2-1 up as it stands. Northern already out for the count, and Dunlimited suffer their 3rd opening casualty in a row, losing the Dokkaebi as well. That's a key part of the game plan. Out for the count. None of those logic bombs are going to have any impact. Skyper catches one. That is Rykos rotating up the white stairs. And again, Team Valor losing that 2nd frag. Seems like every time that Dunlimited lose a body, they find one back.
Yeah, every single time. You know, that's exactly what we need to see, though. The refrags are one of the key major parts of Siege. You know, if you're not getting those refrags and you're just allowing gunfights to go 1-on-1s, that's not going to be a recipe for a winning team. But once the refrags are coming out and you're keeping that man count very, very close, you're not giving the leeway, you're not giving any room at all for error. That's where the pressure will be put onto both teams, and that's where we can see some teams absolutely strike through.
Ipux just repelling on Heaven, trying to catch someone out who might be lurking inside of Cigar. They do know that someone's lurking there, and they're trying to pin them down. Also movement, some gunfire there. The flash of a barrel just exposes Army for a second, but Nako knows his area of safety. It's a very important thing for a player in his position, especially in his army, to create those extra pockets of space. This guy is trying to directly counter this repel by playing very aggressively in the Shaiko spot. Rorik sending out some smokes, and that will perhaps signal the pull of a trigger here from Dunlimited. Nade 10 out to Maestro spot. There comes the repel. Skies, though, takes down Rorik. The sledge dealt with at range and gets a 2nd for his trouble. Nako, in the meantime, the Azami finds another kill. Iwi left high and dry, repelling on this east balcony, and there's really no way back into this round for him. A 1 versus 4. But 30 seconds left. He has to hope for more kills like that.
What a shot onto Nako as he finds himself bring down into a 1 versus 3 situation here, as time is of the essence here. 25 seconds on the clock. This is looking like a dire situation here for the side of Dunlimited, as they have been pretty much curbed once again, especially losing that open frag as well. It's not an ideal situation here, as Iwi left with everything to gather. Time is just going to run out, and this should be used as pretty much a tactical timeout here for the side of Dunlimited. Try to get themselves back in for the next round, as a headshot comes out, and Iwi will fall. And the side of Valor take yet another round.
Excellent crosshair placement there from Jax. Didn't have to move. Just waited a second. Thinker popped into his screen. Click. Dead. Lovely end to the round there from Team Valor. In the 1 versus 4, you can forgive the one player on the defense just sort of giving themselves up to the skylight, maybe looking to shut it out quickly. After that, Team Valor absolutely disciplined. Very, very nicely played in the 3 versus 1. And 3-1 is the scoreline as well. So we do have Dunlimited pretty much up against it here. That's 3 losses on the defense. I was going to say in a row, but that's not true. It's just they were, 1-0 down at one point as well. Came back. So back down to the bottom floor we go. And last time we saw a very top-down focused push from Dunlimited. The sledge and the buck being picked again says to me they anticipate this site, and they are going to do exactly the same thing once more. The question is, how does Team Valor respond to it? Because that is the one site that they haven't managed to win yet.
So one side they haven't managed to win. Yes, there was moments where, you saw the Jaeger go up that red stairs, managed to be just a little bit lurky, a little bit sneaky, and was able to kind of almost get a 3-piece from it. But I reckon if we see a lot heavier of a roam game, as we can see the Oryx being brought here, Jerry, Oryx is going to indicate to me, not sure about yourself, that this is going to be, they're going to try to go for a heavy roam game here, especially bringing the alibi as well. This is going to be a quite difficult one here for the side of the Dunlimited to deal with. But then again, they have the Jackal on the board, so this might not be as hard as it could potentially be. But again, you have Gemini, you have drones, you have the Jackal. There's quite a lot to deal with. You roamed game, but you're also going to have to waste a lot of utility to be able to manage to take them down.
It's a very versatile setup. The one thing they really don't have, well, I mean, I was going to say they don't have the hard breach. It's still really the case, but that early pick is really going to make that a non-issue coming into the late round. Fewer bodies to have to deal with in those crossfires means you don't need as many sightlines necessarily. Working those verticals as well, they're going to look to flush out the defenders regardless. So Rorik getting some scans on Jax, who now knows that he's got to make his way back to site. Opens up that hatch, maybe looks to fight back a little bit. Doesn't want to Scarper completely. He does still have plenty of time that he kind of needs to burn down here because Dunlimited have been very efficient with this opening. This is a quicker start to the round than we've seen from them in past.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit more kind of, it's controlled essentially is what I would like to call it. You know, it's you get in the opening frag, losing, you know, taking that Oryx down very early on would be a major play. You know, the Oryx, he can throw himself around the map essentially. You know, with those Oryx dashes, he can send himself through hatches and just kind of make himself a nuisance to try and flush out and deal with. Taking him down very early was one of the key picks, in my opinion, of this round. But still, you've got some heavy hitters. Skies is still left alive as Rise. He'll take a little bit of damage, but you know, leaving Skies alive in these late rounds, this is going to be a recipe for disaster.
Scarper pushing through here. He will be guided to the clearance by that drone ahead of him. We have Rorik coming down the stairs in support as well. Slowly but surely, this is just a methodical team Dunlimited that we expect to see making their way downtown. They're not walking that fast, but I can't remember the rest of the lyrics. We've got Nako taking a bit of flack from Rorik on this hole. And you can see the bodies of Team Valor. They have been forced out of the site into these sort of outer power positions. You've got one in buy, you've got one in VIP. Coat check most likely. And it's just a matter of time before one of these engagements happens. Rorik looking to get dicey with it in this position. Who's going to fall first? That's the question.
It's going to be just a big game of checkmate here, as they're just going to be both base checking each other constantly. There's no one really wanting to overexpose themselves as more vertical is going to get opened. And just a bit of a contention as Rise hits that headshot up through the floorboards and will take down the Norwind. Bring us back onto a level count of 4-4 once again, with still 40 seconds on the clock as these smoke babes are now going to be extended. There's not much time, Jerry, and there's still a lot of utility left on the board to be used.
Yeah, turns out they're not walking fast.
No, they're mosey on white. All a little mosey on white.
Yeah, and this player inside of VIP is still causing problems. Nako backed up by Jax inside of the lounge as well. And there we go, they finally push their way deep into Freezer. Skyper does take out Jax, but Nako in response takes out Skyper. The diffuser is in a plantable position, but they're not safe. Crossing into default. Fantastic work from Hypix there. Takes his man and gets the plant down. Skies takes down Iwi, but we're in a post-plant situation. Oh, the rotate is hard to get through, and he has to cover from range. Rorik unable to complete the kill before Nako takes out his teammate, but now we're in that 1v1. Skies is just hopping on diffuser. Does he know that the long angle is there? He has the cover. This isn't enough from the defense for the attackers to clear it. Team Valor, what an upset there. Skies finds that spot, and Team Valor have just gotten away with a massive heist.
That was the crime of this century. Sky's just been allowed to get that post defuse off. One thing I mentioned, guys being left alive in the late round. That's not what you like to see. If you're Dunlimited, you're screaming at your monitors right now, leaving Skies alive and just not dealing with him. That just shows how strong of an operator and player that Skies is as a person. Absolute, just insane plays to say the least. And again, snatching a round out from under Dunlimited's feet there, and Valor take us to 4-1.
Yeah, and they do also take us to a quick break. Well, it's Dunlimited that are taking us to the break, so we are going to have a quick rehost. We'll come back to cams just to... Oh, that didn't work very well. There we go. I double clicked. And yeah, we can talk a little bit about this half, because Team Valor, they've had some really big rounds where hero players have come out. We saw it from Skies just there, who's having an exceptional game. Not only that round, but also previous ones. Rise with that singular play inside of Reading, just holding down the fort for the Reading defense. It seems like those two have been the ones to step up, but all in all, this is a solid side Team Valor that are beating back Team Dunlimited at every opportunity and at every need.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of bringing, like, they're playing Dunlimited at their own game essentially, and just kind of forcing their hand essentially in the game. You know, Dunlimited really haven't had an opportunity to run away with this game. They've always been essentially on the back pedal. Yes, they had a good round. The round they won was an amazing round from them, but the side of Valor always seem to be kind of a step ahead of them. They don't all, the game has never really left Valor's hands, essentially.
Mm.
It's just a game of, I thought was going to be a lot closer, but then again, as we've mentioned, Siege is a game of two halves. When this round split eventually does happen, this game could completely just go on its head.
Yeah, I have a feeling it will, because the way that Valor are playing this, it's not like they're going for tons of spawn peaks or anything, but when they're in control, they feel in control, and when they need to, they are making that play. The one round they didn't win, where things were slightly more out of their hands, that flank up red stairs, I feel like that really shows the character of this team. They're not ones that are going to sit back and take it. They're going to take, basically make sure they are controllers of their own destiny. If they lose a round, they want it to be on them, maybe like failing in that play rather than not making the play at all. And that is very promising, especially when you think about the dynamic of the game. Once it switches on to attack, you know that they're going to be a very kind of proactive team, a very forceful team. Dunlimited, it feels like they're kind of just box checking at the moment, right? They're doing default pushes, default strats. We haven't seen anything truly sort of special or unusual about it, and that can work. But at the moment, you're 4-1 down against what's looking like a very strong side. If you keep playing the standard way, the way that you know, and do nothing else when a team is reading into it and countering it and playing against you so well, then you're going to lose. So Dunlimited needs to take this opportunity really to reset and to maybe reassess their approach to these rounds, because one last round on attack, and if they go into the second half 4-2 down, that's a lot better than the 5-1 that could be about to happen.
Yeah, 5-1 down is always going to be, it's not something you'd like to see. It's not something we want to see, as casters. We want this game to be as interesting as possible and have the best siege possible. But one thing I kind of want to just kind of recover over again is just how surgical rounds have been from Valor. Their trigger discipline has been insane. They're not, as you mentioned, they're not overextending themselves unnecessarily. They're very controlled, but also the controlled aggression is there. They're not overdoing things where they don't need to be overdone. They know exactly what to do, when to do it.
And that is the meta, isn't
it's
it?
Precise.
That is exactly what they should be
level
doing.
Of precision.
Yeah, it is precise. It's the meta. It's exactly why teams at the very top are doing so well. So it's good to see them play to that standard. Well, maybe not necessarily that standard yet. We'll get to see how they deal with potentially tougher opposition if they make it through, and if they make it into the Combine. Of course, there will be plenty of tougher opposition. We already know a fair number of the teams that have made it through to the group stage of the Combine, the Division Clash, and then the Conference Clash. And we also know that Eminem proper, Eminem Gaming, and Wolves are waiting in the wings for the playoffs come August. So a lot of good competition is on the docket. It's waiting for these teams if they can prove themselves. At this point as well, it's worth mentioning that these are the teams that have made it to the semi-finals. Dunlimited and Team Valor are both in a position where they have plenty of points to their name. They've already gained 50 from this bracket alone, and that may be enough if they can continue to replicate that, day after day, tomorrow, next weekend, then that should be enough as a total tally to pull them through. But these are the matches where we really get to see how things may stack up when we get to those league stages, and we'll look back at these games and think, yeah, Team Valor, they had Dunlimited's number. I'm going to back them over Dunlimited in the group stages potentially.
Yeah, and another thing to mention as well, the side of Valor do have Rise. Rise, being one of those very, he's one of those players that's been around for quite some time. He's going to add a wealth of knowledge to the side of, he's going to add so much knowledge to them. I think this level of discipline that we're seeing could potentially be coming down from IGL, the IGL potentials of Rise himself. It's definitely a high possibility of something that we're seeing, which, Dunlimited not having as many unexperienced players as what the side of Valor are having, that could be at their disadvantage as well. But overall, Valor are looking extremely strong, and they're definitely a team that, I wouldn't like to be facing, I know for sure.
Looks like we're almost ready to go in, and I think you're right, really. We cannot underestimate the impact of Rise. This side, Team Valor, they are essentially the old Death Row core, or then Red Hood briefly, and that was already a very strong side, a consistent Challenger League contender, making it to the top 8 in EU very frequently in the Tier 2 scene. And Rise really could be that factor that helps push them over the edge, that helps carry them forward and elevate their play. So this could be the making of a very exciting squad for certain. We are finally back into the game, so thank heavens for that. We've got ourselves a reading room defense once again. Last time we saw Team Valor just about sort of close this out with some Rise heroics, now that we're mentioning him. They won't be able to rely on that, though. Dunlimited had a very nice kind of half clear, and then they rotated towards that reading push later on with the Ace Selma charges opening up the wall. I feel like if they go for the same again, it could work, but at the same time, by this point, Valor will know that it's coming, and that's a dangerous prospect now.
Especially with that kind of push, if you're losing that element of surprise, you're putting yourself at such a disadvantage because, you know, again, they will have adapted. They've had time now over this kind of tactical break that we had with the tech issues. They've had time to discuss things. They've had time to go over things, rounds that have passed. They're both going to be aware of each other's games. It's just a case of who can kind of experiment and, you know, adapt better than the other team, essentially, coming into this.
Speaking of adaptation, I do like what I'm seeing on the Dunlimited lineup here. We have Hypox bringing that Brava, and you can see all of the potential hackable gadgets on the side of the defense. Everyone besides the Warden has something worth stealing, especially those Fenrir gadgets. You think about how many problems that was giving the entry down in sort of middle floor red stairs area with that little Fenrir gadget on the chandelier, and that could, you know, be turned against them, against the defenders, make it a lot easier to clear out. You get one of these cameras, these Vount cams on your side, suddenly you've got a ton of intel. Any ADSs that might protect anchors or key positions can be hacked and disabled, or turned to your side rather. These are all fantastic things that you can do with the Brava gadget, so I'm looking forward to seeing if Hypox can get value out of it.
Yeah, getting the value out of the Brava here, and especially with the lineup, as you mentioned, there's a lot of utility that the Brava can steal. One thing I really want to keep an eye on is these Fenrir gadgets. How much of a disadvantage the defenders can be put on once they get hacked it could be the round-changing moment, essentially, here. As we see the Brava drone get thrown out, will we see anything getting netted, Jerry? Will that Brava drone act like a fishing net and take something here, as it's just going to go through the map? And potentially we might see it eventually take some gadgets.
Looks like it's aiming to come up red stairs to assist that push, which we did mention, you know, that Fenrir gadget before was causing a problem on. Looks like Skyper just sending out his own bit of intel on Hell position, just to gather some intel around the site. Nordwind clearing out the top floor, but it does get shot out, so they have some knowledge of a player on that top floor. Half the round gone, and a lot of drone work has been done by Dunlimited, but nothing off the back of it necessarily. They've been maybe clearing some utility with those Flores drones, all sorts of things, stealing things, and we finally see a bit of an entry into the map from the Sledge, and the Ace will open up this wall to create a little bit of pressure on Nako, but plenty of red pings means that he can possibly fight back.
Yeah, Nako's just going to be left here in a position that he hasn't been actually spotted in from what I can see. So this is going to be definitely the situation.
There he goes.
Oh, he died there for a second. As Norik's going to find one though onto Nako, and he's going to fall down, leaving us in a 5-versus-4 situation. Still, the map control is not all there. You know, they're quite close to sight. As Norik's going to get himself opening up these reading walls. It's a case of deja vu again. Will Rise beat Thorn in the sight once again to slow them down, as he's sitting in pretty much a similar position, just kind of pushed himself back a little bit than the last time. And will we see the deja vu here, Jerry? I kind of hope we do.
They have to worry about the vertical if they're going for that reading door push. There's no one covering the top floor. Rise will take out Rorik as he pushes out of that door, taken out on the refrag by Skyper pushing up brown stairs. An engagement on the top floor still. Nordwind looking to suppress that vertical control single-handedly. Doing a decent job of it, honestly. He's keeping them occupied. Maybe that's all he needs, but Sky's winning the fight onto Skyper downstairs means that job may be all for naught. Anyway, Jax fights back with a kill onto Hypox after he kills Rykos. 2 versus 2 now, and Sky's downstairs. Iwi deep inside the site with Diffuser. Nordwind trying to get the cover from above, but can't send out the flash. I don't think he can find a safe spot, and down goes Iwi with the Diffuser. Nordwind tries to pick it up, but Sky sticks on that angle, finds his 2-piece. And that is yet another round going the way of Valor. A 5-1 defensive half on Cafe is nothing to sniff at.
No, a 5-1 split is... it's more than anyone could have ever asked for. If you even get the 4-2 split, it's kind of your ideal situation. That's kind of what you aim for. You're going to be laughing once you take away a 5-1 split here. It only takes one more round of pressure to absolutely crumble the mental of Dunlimited here. You know, as soon as this goes to match point, there's no room for error anymore, Jerry. They have to confirm their rounds, and there's no going back.
Hello, Fresh. It's nice to remember sometimes that we are our community stream and I can actually interact with chat. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I can't get for starters, I can't play the guitar. So it would go horribly. And for second, I think as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I can top my antics last Friday with regards to just, you know, during a game doing something that's unheard of and unprecedented. So I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to be novelty Jerry today, unfortunately.
We've already had accent Jerry so far, so you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We did have an accent thing earlier. Just play the triangle 5-head, says Strike. Could do. I do like the triangle. I'm getting hold of a whole drum kit soon, and I'm going to basically spend probably a whole week just playing the kit and annoying the hell out of my neighbours. Very much looking forward to it.
All the noise complaints are going to be just rolling your way, Jerry.
They can just deal with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Their problem. Their problem. Skill
It's
issues.
not a Jerry problem.
Exactly. You might enjoy yourself. You know, it's a free drum set. Why not? Neighbours, who cares?
No, I'm pretending like I don't care and that I'm being a bad boy on it. Like, this scares, like, getting complaints from my neighbours scares me more than anything. I'm making sure that it's soundproofed. I'm making sure that I'm well behaved. Anyway, Dunlimited, now on the defense, need a near perfect split to try and counter back against this near sweep from Team Valor. Nako disguising the drop with the sound of a bullet. They're trying to go a bit more direct than we saw from Dunlimited. They do have a bit of a top-down element here with these guys on the rappels, but mostly they're getting their bodies in and around the site as quickly as possible in this opening minute.
Yeah, one thing to notice, if we compare the two attacks that we've seen, this pace that Valor is bringing is just so much higher. There's a free kill.
Yeah.
There's no way it's going to fall. And
that's not what you want. That's really not what you want on the side of Dunlimited. Rorik, though, reacting, finds two, but Jax has his back. Rise does go down from that engagement, but he is resable. Jax holds it as well and takes out Hypox. Now it's all up to Iwi and Skyper against the 2 living and 1 downed bodies of Valor. It looks like Rise trying to get in a position where he can be res, but Iwi just waiting on the stairs. Jax has his number, a quad for the Frenchman in this round. All up to Skyper now in the 1 versus 3. Rise surely in a resable spot now. There we go. 1 versus 3. Out comes Skyper trying to take it, but it's the ace from Jax. Team Valor setting a blistering pace on the opening round of their attack, and that puts them onto match point already, Rose.
What a game we are seeing so far. Valor are just running away. You know, we said the Siege is a game of 2 halves and the things could switch as they went on to different sides. It just seems Valor have got more powerful. They've just activated even more. Something that we didn't think was possible. They were just, they were going well, and now they've just gone nuclear. This is going to be a game and a half for us here.
We were talking about it a little bit, weren't we? We were saying that there was that manifesting of their own destiny vibe about Team Valor. They weren't going to sit back and let things happen to them. They were going to be direct. They were going to be making sure that they never back away from a fight. And we saw it in that round. Jack's always aware of the most immediate threat in that ace. You know, he was basically playing Protect the President for most of it. Rise went down in the engagement, and he caught a couple of kills off of the back of that attempt from Dunlimited to try and secure the kill. And it maybe felt a little bit like Dunlimited in that situation didn't swing with enough coordination, and that is the telling factor. I think that is what allowed Jax to be able to perform the way he did. 6-0 after the rehost, mind. Of course, the stats have been reset. We don't want to discredit Skies because, of course, he was having an incredible game before that point as well himself. But Team Valor, so many players on this side seem to be playing exceptionally well. Dunlimited, I can't see a hero among them right now.
Yeah, no heroes, and this is a team game. But nearly every single member of Valor, they're all hitting their shots, they're all doing their part. Whereas, as we mentioned, there's not even a single standalone member here of Dunlimited who's really just putting the foot forward into the round. And that's really why they're struggling. They seem to be, they just don't seem to be as coordinated as Valor are. Valor are kind of working like a well-oiled machine. And it's just kind of like a little bit of 5-stack rank going on here for this side of Dunlimited. They're not as coordinated as we'd like to see them, which is unfortunate. But just going to be little shots fired, just kind of scare Skies just a little, but not going to be enough to deter him from that actually.
Tentative stuff. I'm very glad that I didn't agree in any way, and I completely shot down the whole playing a song while an ace happened thing, because, yeah, as soon as Thresh turns up, it happens, typically. But, yeah, I'm just glad I backed out of that. We have now, of course...
We need to see that.
Maybe one day. But it won't be a guitar. 100% won't be a guitar. You can count on that fact. Iwi taking a lot of flack here in the pipe position, top of white as Rykos on the repel. He's trying to hold this spot on the bar defense. Nordwind gets the repelling player of Jax, and that is the hero of last round down for the count. No more EE1Ds able to be sent out by the attacking side. Skies will send a nade long. Doesn't quite connect with his army, who's being a bit more mobile, but does wait, holds that angle, takes the head of Hypox. Again, a refrag now going the way of Valor. Downs on either side as Rise is confirmed by Rorik, and another one on the side of Dunlimited goes down, but Skyper takes out Nako, and it looks like we may even be in a resible position. Rykos and Skies with it all to do in the 2 versus 4 to try and close this out as early as possible. Skyper taken down to very low HP, and nade sent round to enable a bit of a aggressive reposition. Rorik takes down Rykos. Now all up to Skies. This looks like
all down to Skies.
Pretty
one of those key players.
It's unwinnable.
He's one of those key players we pointed out, and he's all going to be left down here into this 1 versus 4 situation with everything to play for.
Some shots sent back and forth. His position definitely known, and they're just holding these crossfires. This open angle, beautiful shot to start things off onto Skyper. Still 1 versus 3 though, with 35 seconds left. Dunlimited just need to stay disciplined, just hold him at bay. He has to make the first move. He has to push through. Can't go through that Zero Gate without taking a significant damage concerning his total HP. Nordwind will seal the deal up against Skies with that long-range barrel. The double peak from the Wamai and the Aruni pays dividends. And that's Dunlimited finally putting a little bit of a plaster on that wound. 6-2 now.
We're going to need to see a little more than a few plasters put onto the wounds here, as Valor are quite on the lead here. As we're still on match point, Jerry, the pressure is still heavily on Dunlimited here. 4 rounds is all it's going to take, though. Taking it round by round, though, is going to be their best approach. As this game, it's not out of the reach of Dunlimited. That last round was a lot stronger than what we've seen from them previously. So if we can kind of see that kind of replicated again, just maybe a few more little adaptations, this game could go to the full OT. But that's what we'd like to see.
I wouldn't bet on it, but I would love to see it. Imagine how much of a banger this game would be if we got that reverse sweep from Dunlimited. 6-1 to 6-6. It's possible. Oh, sorry, not 6-1 to 6-6. Right? Yeah, 6-1 to 6-6. Why am I doubting myself? Valor have 5 match points, right? They've lost 1. I will own it. I'll own my... I'm the biggest, like, cock-up merchant in any casting team, right? Like, at the moment. I doubt myself. I don't back myself. I stumble on words. And then it becomes a weird train of thought like this one. And you get a nice insight into my mind. But right now...
No, default to Jerry. Yeah, new segment.
Yeah, new segment. We're looking at this basement defense. And I always call it a basement, but it's not a basement. It is called the bottom floor of Cafe. Everyone does that. You see, I did it again. I always do. And... the top floor is going to be a priority for Dunlimited. You can see they're reinforcing this hatch, meaning that they do want to control the vertical inside of prep and make sure that mining is a stronghold for their defense. They're coming back down here, of course, because they chalk off that loss early on to Jax's ace. It's a bit of an anomaly. Rorik getting aggressive early on, taking out Nako. That is the Ash down for the count. Not the biggest loss in terms of utility, but you're certainly expecting him to maybe come up with a few kills here or there. Rykos takes some damage to the cheeky little jiggle peaks from our resident Wamai of Nordwind, but nothing too damaging, as I think Valor at this point, they're going to be really careful about how they approach this next kill, because they don't want to lose any more bodies.
Yeah, they're going to have to be playing just a little bit more safer. I see Jax trying to jiggle peek onto the white stairs. Not going to be able to find the head, though, of that Jaeger, who was just trying to get a little bit teasy, a little aggressive. But we could actually see a rush coming here through the kitchen door as a push is going to happen here. So those cancers are going to slow them down. This guy's fine, wants to skip her. As Roderick just going to fall as well. But that Thorn gadget is going to be there, doesn't pick up Rykos, and we're now going to be left in a 3 versus 3 situation. Full health members on Dunlimited here, as this attack is opening up so quick, and it's one of the faster rounds we've seen here. It's such an aggressive round. We're seeing a little bit of a rush attempted. Unfortunately, it didn't work out best, but still, it's absolutely insane to say the least.
Well, at least they bounced back from that man disadvantage, gaining 2 in that push while losing 1, and now even footing for both sides. But Skies with a 1-tap takes out Nordwind. We'll follow it up with a nice little hack onto the cameras, and that's going to turn all of the defensive gadgets for Intel against the defenders. You have those BP cams in potentially very impactful places. But we can see from Team Valor's spectator HUD that they're really not caring about them. They can't find anything valuable out of that. So, Iwi on the vert, Hypox from range. This is a dual hold, but Hypox taken down inside a coffee. Leaves only Iwi coming down red stairs, and they know about him. The pre-fire is there. Jax holds that diffuser and is able to set it down in cover here. We'll confirm it. The flash comes out onto Iwi's position, fully flashed, has to retreat to avoid instant death. Will decide to go another way. Sends out that C4. Maybe could have saved that for a little bit longer to act as a decoy, cover the sound of this drop, but the flash comes out. Look, he's being read like a book, Rose. Valor have swept up this round, and they've swept up Dunlimited 7-2, sees them through to the grand final of this Open Qualifier number 1.
What a game we've just witnessed. I came into this saying, Dunlimited, they've looked a lot stronger. They were looking a lot better. And they just made me eat my words, apparently. They just showed that Valor just absolutely picked them to pieces. Valor read them like a book, as you mentioned. That was just surgical precision coming out from Valor. And just major props to the entire team. They played that so well.
Yeah, they
We've
really
got to
did.
give them all credit there. There was no real standalone players. Everyone played their part. Everyone was doing the fragging.
It was
just a well-oiled machine.
We kept picking out standout players, and then they kept adding to the list of standout players. We're like, oh yes, guys, what a performance. Early game, he was by far the hero. Then Jax pops up with an ace and some incredible late round kills as well. Rise in the middle of it all with that 3k on the reading defense, hauling them over the line for that really impressive 5-1 defensive split. Such a solid team on Cafe, it would seem. And Dunlimited took them there, I believe. It was Dunlimited's pick, so they'll probably not be making that mistake anytime again in the near future, will they, Rose? Because that was a real drubbing.
That was definitely not the outcome that we expected from Dunlimited. Today they've had a quite a good day so far, to say the least. They've been playing their games quite well, and then to go on their map pick to Cafe and have that sort of a performance again, we can't really rip them down too well, because you've got to give Valor were just objectively the better team there on that one. They were coordinated, they were surgical. Dunlimited were pretty much the opposite of them. In that kind of situation, it's quite unfortunate, to say the least.
So it looks as though we may have a rather extended break before the next game. I'm just going to show you the bracket to explain exactly why that is. We do have a little scene ready with both our cams, because I'm a good producer sometimes. So I'm just scrolling through the bracket here, Rose. We've got, at the moment, the other semi-final that is taking place is Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs versus Calories. I believe Fresh as well is actually covering that. So we'll just have a quick jump on over there to see the score. In fact, it looks as though he's doing the same thing as us. He's scrolling through the bracket. I hovered on the tab and it showed him playing the game, or watching Clubhouse. And I think that he's actually not casting a game right now. He's probably just finished watching us, maybe, and he's jumped back. So if you're watching both me and Fresh at the same time, this has got to be a little bit of a mindfuck. The previous game has finished. Oh, so Kenny's in chat. He's giving us a bit of an update. So, Kenny, did you win that game? It seems as though that's what's happened. The X10 Star won that game and are waiting for the final, which would be Team Valor versus X10 Star. Exciting prospect, that, Rose.
Yeah, that's going to be definitely an exciting game to see, and I've won. I'm loving the siege that we're seeing at the minute. This game a little bit wasn't as close as I was expecting, but this next game is definitely going to be one for sure that was going to really test us to our abilities and give us probably one of the better games of siege we're going to see today.
Yeah, I'm messing this up massively. I keep forgetting that I'm on stream, that my browser is on stream, so I'm sort of moving through, clicking random things. But yeah, we want to get into this game here, the grand final of the Open Qualifier, and we go to cast match so that we get all of our layers updated. It's really neat the way that they've got this set up. Honestly, it's working pretty neatly. Just to sort of fill you in as well on the previous matches and previous rounds, we had some quarterfinals. Samba versus Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. 7-3 was the victory there for Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs. They came up against Calories, who had won 7-2 against KT, and Calories have supposedly just won that match there. Actually, maybe it's not that way round. No, they're waiting for semi-final. Jesus. All right, never mind. So it will be quite a long break. It'll be quite a long break because we will have to wait for that game to be covered. Maybe we'll jump into it. I don't know. We'll make that decision behind the scenes. But once the winner of Calories versus Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs has been decided, we will definitely be covering that final versus Team Valor. So I think that's probably a decent place to go to a break there, Rose. Don't know about you, but I'm pretty hot. I need to turn on my air conditioning.
Yeah,
I need to get a
it
drink.
is.
Yeah.
It's quite warm to say the least.
Yeah. So we'll just throw to a break, and we'll be back in time for that final. So go watch Fresh's stream, give him some love, and make sure you pop back here for the final. See you all in a few. Be right back. Okay, hello everybody. We are back with the Dinosaurs versus Calories game. This is the other semi-final. The reason we had a little bit of a quick intro there is because we didn't think that this game was actually happening in the way that it is happening. There's also some interesting things going on with my stat bar. There we go, let's fix that. There we go, the overlay's fixed now. Yeah, we didn't think that this game was actually going to be happening at a time that we'd be able to cover it, but it turns out Calories have been waiting so long for this semi-final to start that it has now begun after the other semi-final has already finished. You know, that's just what happens when you have 28 like pronged bracket with like 84 different competitors. So this is what we're looking at now. This is the game, and I am joined here by the wonderful Rose, and we're kind of both just jumping into this, so excuse us while we kind of find our feet for a minute. But yeah, Dinosaurs, an exciting looking roster, but Calories is the X10-star lineup, and really the only one that's kind of continuing is Jonker and Oscar, and the rest of these players are kind of new additions.
Yeah, some new additions, and it's always nice to add some fresh meat to a team. Let's be honest, it can freshen up a team and really bring out their qualities. And hopefully that's what we're going to see here today. As you know, they have came quite far. They've looked extremely well through the combine so far. It's going to be an interesting matchup to say the least. As you know, Dinosaurs, they're also a quite strong team as well. This is going to be a match, but I think.
It is. I think it's fair to say that Calories should be the favourites here, and Lamb is the first to find a kill against Cat Solar. Probably the most unknown of this Calories lineup, which is interesting. I think we've got you know, some very well-known names here if you've been paying attention to tier 2 and to the sort of UK scene in particular over the past few years. Skyty and Oscar on the same team is very exciting again. They had that real good partnership, but down goes one of those, Oscar, and Jonker on the back line for this Calories defense. As we haven't even mentioned, we're on Villa, we're on a trophy defense right now, and they have to try and keep their toes on the ground. What do you keep your toes doing? I don't know where I was going with that. You have to try.
If you'd want ideally on the ground is generally a good rule of thumb, I think. Rule of toe if you want to look at it that way.
They have to be on their toes. That's it. You just have to be on your toes. You don't keep your toes anywhere in particular. You just keep on them. That's what you do. They have to be kept on their toes because they are in that 3 versus 4 now. Skyty in a potential playmaking position as he maybe wants to flank up these red stairs. And it isn't a trophy defense. I don't know why I said that. It's an AVG.
Yeah, AVG always one of those sites. It's always kind of generally primary. We're always going to see either AVG or you're going to see the trophy site being brought. It's never really a swap between those two. AVG being one of those more comfortable sites. But then again, as the days go on, this site becomes a lot more winnable for the attackers, as it's just one of those sites that's played so often. The attackers will just always kind of learn their ways in, and everything will become a standard. It's basically what happened with Oregon. This is essentially what's happening here with AVG. As I say, that beautiful shot there from Lamb comes out and takes down Hizru, and that was. Now we're left in a 2 versus 3 situation here, as there's still a little bit of time on the clock. And there's not that much map control gained, as Diabon is still out here on the balcony.
Skyty has done such good work supporting Lamb there. Lamb gets a second as well for his trouble. Really making a name for himself already. 3 kills in this round. He's carried his team through it. Dinosaurs left with only Zayden in the 1 versus 3. Holds on to Diffuser. Has some tracers sent his way. They know exactly where he is. Grizzly from 90 will be there to clean things up. The old heroic man. Newcomer to this roster. Very exciting to see both him and Jonker here. You've got a lot of experience and some real talent to back it up with Skyty, Oscar, and Lamb. We can maybe sort of keep an eye on this player for the time being. I'm gonna get some insider information from Kenny, because we know that Ride is present on this in this team. I believe though he is in a sort of coach analyst role. So Lamb is, unless that is Ride playing, which I think is unlikely, then this is actually a general unknown for me, which is very exciting. Kenny does have a sort of hidden knack for, well, it's not even hidden at this more, a known knack for picking up exciting prospects and propelling them forward.
Exactly, and that's what we love to see. That's the beauty here of, you know, T3, T4 play, and even T2. It's always when you can pull out these players, just kind of highlight them and just let them show what their true potential is. I think that's the main takeaway of this combine as well. You know, we're not, obviously, that 40,000 overall prize pool. It's a nice sweetener to the bonus. But, just highlighting all these players and just showing what the potential they can bring and they can do, that's going to be one of the main takeaways here, surely, for a lot of these teams.
Do we call this side the MPL holders or even the Rumble holders? Obviously, Rumble hasn't existed until now, but the competition that it's effectively replacing in MPL, this is the side that won it all back in the day. They beat Heroic. They beat Grizzly. Jonker beat Grizzly to win MPL, and now they're playing side by side in this roster. And that's just so cool. I love that. I think that's awesome. It's great to see the sort of the teams intermingling and getting to know each other. Of course, it's all kind of friendly rivalry type thing, but yeah, I'm very excited to see this duo develop of Grizzly and Jonker.
It's always great to see those little storylines build up. But as we say, that Lamb is going to absolutely demolish Den off the side of the map. And that's going to be your EE1Ds all ripped away, and they will not be present for the rest of this round. As we're left in a very early 4 versus 5 with still over 2 minutes on the clock and all to be played for.
Lots to do, and it is this vertical control, or, well, sub-vertical control that Dinosaurs are going for, and they are taking bodies on the way. Oscar lurking inside of Laundry does get caught out by Russ, and Hairuzu as well finds a body. Skyty out for the count. The two ex-Victus players now down and out. 3 versus 4. Calories once again at that man deficit, a calorie deficit if you will excuse the pun, and they are now in a position where they're forced into these plays. We'll see if Grizzly can try and get something. Just lurking down the bottom here of Astro Stairs. Does give his position away though with that spray and has to recover. So looking for that vertical kill. Oh, dips away at just the wrong moment. Tries to pull out the nade, but decides the opportunity is now passed him by.
The opportunity passes by, narrowly missing the hairs on Grizzly's head there with those bullets. As Grizzly's able just to get himself, just stay alive for another bit longer, as those FNAT mines are going to be triggered. That intel that is going to be gained from those FNATs is going to be absolutely huge. The main push is going to be highlighted here to the defenders. And this round could get very, very spicy very, very shortly, as we could see this attack coming in. Just still not a whole lot happening, as they're all just kind of just getting their footing into the map first. But this push should be coming in very, very shortly, as the main kind of push is coming from the AVG side, as these 1 discs are going to soak up all of that utility. Those nades not going to be used to their best, as they are just going to get just absorbed for now, brought into the realms, as the two attackers are going to start pushing here through the trophy side, as Lamb is just going to be holding this angle onto the window. Some shots are going to be putting him under a little bit of pressure, but this gunfight is surely in a winnable position for himself. Yeah,
he's just set himself up quite nicely here, but a good wide swing there from Rustin, just spraying with the MK14, does manage to take down that Warden, and a 4 versus 2 now. The Calories really with their backs against the wall. Jonker taking a lot of damage, does get down there, all up to Grizzly in a 1v4. He has done some incredible things in his long career, but Dinosaurs just a bit better there. 4-0. I'm just aware of a little thing I said there, and a tweet that I saw the other day. I called Grizzly's career long and implied, he's a veteran, an age-old wizard, a shaman of the scene almost, just someone who's been lingering. It's unbelievable. And I saw a tweet the other day that was like, yeah, someone's like 22, and and casters will say, it's a miracle he's even able to hold a mouse. It's a little trap we fall into sometimes, but yeah, as far as we're concerned, he is the experienced one on this roster.
Yeah, he's Grizzly. He's put in his performances. He's been around. He's seen. He's played in T1 for quite a while. Again, as you mentioned, 22 we class as kind of an old enough Siege player.
Don't quote me on 22. I'm literally googling it right now. It may or may not be slightly older. But
I'm going to trust your decision here, Gary. I'm going to trust you on this one.
This is many people have made that mistake.
Is it a poor decision trusting you? Who knows? Maybe. We'll find that one out.
He's 25. He's 25. He's 25. That's actually relatively old in Siege terms, so we'll take it. I'm 28, so I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah, I'm not unfortunately in that position. I'm only 20. I can't say that, but we move. Still quite young in the scene, but in siege years, I think Siege years, playing the game kind of ages you in a different sense to just regular everyday life. Siege, I mean, a year in Siege is probably about 10 years realistically. So
there are some
team of 8-year-olds.
There are some casts that have aged me at least 2 years just by themselves. So I'm probably pretty old in Siege years by this point. We've got ourselves an early round with not too much action. A few shots sent back and forth, but no damage. Denster on the Amaru. looking to get a bit frisky. We have almost the yellow meta coming through as well from Dinosaurs. Worth mentioning that Catsola on the Grim not only adds to that yellow meta mentality in style, but also in color, as the yellow operator icon is just melted through. 3 versus 2 in the blink of an eye, as that go just doesn't go and gets melted in a split second. Down goes the Thinker, and that was a very quick one. An exceptionally fast rush there that just fell flat on its face, met with the necessary resistance by Calories.
An attempt at what could have turned out to be an absolutely insane kind of a rush was just met with force, and everything just kind of collapsed, to say the least. It was a very well executed attempt, to say the least. It just didn't go well, and the side of Calories were pretty much waiting for it with open arms. Essentially, they realized pretty quickly what was going on, and they made sure to curb it down as quickly as possible.
All you got to do is look in the right direction, you know? Like, the problem with that rush is that it's not too difficult for the defenders to have to counter unless you've got someone pressing from this southern side of the map as well, forcing defenders to spin on their heels. As far as I'm aware, and I may be corrected on this after I go back and look at it, it seemed as though it was very sort of singularly directed towards that Astro, towards that bedroom, and that may have been an issue. If I'm wrong, then I guess well played Calories for fending off so many directions, but they did well regardless. We now move on to the 4th round. Back round to AVG for the defense for Calories, and the cap cam being brought here as a precaution by Calories, by SkyT in particular, to maybe catch out anyone that wants to approach quite so quickly as they did before.
I am dying to see a Capcan trap here. I want to see a Capcan trap kill just for the memes, essentially. You know, Capcan, one of those operators, he is memed on quite a lot, but in my personal opinion, would be one of the better defenders in these kind of situations, as you know, especially when attackers are trying to make that vertical control onto, you know, onto certain sites, and you have the Capcan traps coming into the late seconds of a round. You're trying to get yourself moved around the place, trying to get those vertical open. You're not going to be at your full senses. You're going to be kind of just rushing essentially, and if you just hit one of those Capcan traps, you're putting yourself at, you know, an extra less 50 HP. And if you hit, you know, as we saw, there was 3 of them on one door there for a second.
Oh!
That's the kill straight away. And there's the Capcan trap. We call it, we said it, it's arrived. Then is going to be the person that will fall to that Capcan trap, as Haizu is also going to fall to the gun from Skyty. And this round has now just opened up once again into Calories' favor.
Wow, Grizzly just taking the fight onto the cross from Rustin. Rustin not good enough, not quick enough on the trigger. The reaction speeds just not there, unfortunately, and that means that now that 3 versus 5 is a 2 versus 5 for Dinosaurs. They did commit quite heavily to that clear across the top floor, met with a lot of resistance. Skyty with an exceptional kill, just running and gunning, and gets that free Capcan one to add to his tally as well. So this is almost over. This round pretty much spelt out in the opening minute there. Catsola and Zidon do have a chance, but it's a very, very slim one here, as the crossfires on this top floor between Grizzly and Oscar are going to come to fruition here. No, Oscar is gunned down by Catsola, no refrag. If that continues, then Dinosaurs have a way back into this round. You could argue that Oscar was in maybe a slightly more advanced position than necessary, but we'll forgive him for it. 2 versus 5. 1 minute 10 left. They have to keep finding these picks.
And those Fenrir gadgets, as we just saw, went off as well, is going to alert the defenders of where this push is coming from. As the members on the side of Calories are not over-aggressing. They're holding their angles. The cross has been held here onto this zombie door, which is what we love to see. You know, they're not overexposing. They're just holding the angles. With the Warden holding down Classic as well. This is going to be an insanely difficult round here for the side of Dinosaurs to try and pull back from. As pretty much every angle they walk into is going to be met with opening arms here of the guns of the defenders. As a swing comes through, as the Orcs is going to fall, but a refrag is going to be brought as Skyty's just sitting behind waiting, and that hole on the breach onto the vault is going to find the final kill, and that's going to be the side of Calories, taking yet what seems to be another round that kind of ran away from the side of Dinosaurs.
Yeah, they were swept up very quickly, very, very quickly. The fact that Grizzly went for that swing was just like, that shows to me that he's feeling it. He's really, really confident right now. He's just like, yeah, we may be 5 versus 3. We may have the option of just falling back to site by whatever means necessary. You know, you've got the option of going downstairs, for instance, and falling back that way. There was no one down there. But I want to make it easier for my retreating roamers. I'm just going to swing the guy holding the cross. Why not? 2 versus 5 instead. You could argue, of course, if Grizzly loses that, it's unnecessary. It gives Dinosaurs a route back into the round. But when Grizzly backs himself, there's no stopping him, right? Like, this is a player who has been almost kind of let loose in the last year with regards to the way his role developed on that heroic roster, and it improved his game. It didn't necessarily improve the game of heroic as a whole. They had sort of wider issues, but we saw a resurgence in the Grizzly of old, and it was very exciting, and I like to see that side of him come out on this Calories roster as well. You know, you've got Jonker as that backline player to back you up. You can be a little bit more loose as that kind of secondary support slot.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, seeing Grizzly, this game is a confidence game. You know, it's all well and good. Oh, you shoot and click, point and click. But it's confidence. If you're not confident in your own gun skill, in your own aim, you're not going to win most of your gunfights. And that's what we saw Grizzly. You know, he white swung that as an ego swing, as some would say. And he took that gunfight, won the gunfight, and then put them at a 5-2 advantage. That's what we kind of need to be seeing here from these players. And once they're in that kind of mindset, that's a quite difficult one to knock them out of.
I hate to harp on about lots of different players on the Calories lineup, but I've just been given some nice, tasty sort of background information from the man himself, from Kenny, on Lamb. Very promising Finnish young prospect who is coming up from a sort of very sort of mechanically gifted. He's part of that school of just incredible gunners that needs a little bit of training and will possibly blossom into a very exciting player. So keep an eye on him in the coming months for certain. Let's see. So kitchen defense, and still nobody dead in this first minute of the round. Jonker playing aggressively, maybe looking to net a C4 kills. He sends it out to that window, but no one playing close enough to gain any sort of damage there. Catsola will drone him out. At this point, it would be wise for Jonker to maybe push back and give up this ground, but no, it looks like he wants to keep fighting it. There he goes.
Cheese holes.
He's gone.
Going to start getting opened. He's gone. He's gone. He's retreated. He's given up. As Oscar is just going to go play with fire there a little bit. He's going to land some shots, but not going to quite take down the IQ. He was just able just to win that gunfight out instead. And we're going to see now a 5 versus 3 as these Fenrir gadgets are just going to be toyed around with, just to make them, you know, put them into a little bit better positions and just get them to be a little bit more stronger. But still, those cheese holes are going to get open.
Oh.
Some shots are going to go to the floorboards. That guy, he's going to find one. I thought that was also through the floorboards.
Same.
Don't feel too bad, Jerry. It looked like it, to be fair. But still, what a shot nonetheless. Still bring us now into a little bit of a closer situation. The 4 versus 3 situation. Still a minute on the clock, though, as Jonker is looking to see if he can get a little bit aggressive here. Knows the buck is there. Pels are going to go, and the buck is going to retreat all the way back to a safe haven once again.
Harzu with that important double kill. We'll keep an eye on his performance for the rest of this round as well. Grizzly just sort of playing with his positions, knows where he wants to stay, knows where he's safe, but he's wary of the work being done above him by the buck. Any moment he could be opened up on, doesn't know if he's being pinged or anything. He'll have to be keeping his ears out for any drone work. Be careful of that spot. And there we go, Denster seals Grizzly's fate. It was maybe only a matter of time with the benefit of hindsight, we could say. Jonker looking to make the play, though, with 23 seconds left. It is on Dinosaurs to make a push sooner rather than later, and Jonker looking to provide that late backstab to give them something to worry about. SkyT getting in engagements downstairs on very low HP. Doesn't last very long as he's out for the count. All on Jonker now in those 1 versus 4. Diffuser has gone down, and this heroic play has become all that harder. Sprays towards the player, towards the kitchen, but can't connect. One comes in through the door as well. Drops down for the cover of this sofa, this little armchair, but is being flashed out. Zidane will give chase. The other players on the side of Dinosaurs smartly going above to get the cover, and even if Zidane doesn't win that, the cover was excellent. Great post plant coming out from Dinosaurs. They close that gap to 3-2.
A lot closer, and what around there from side Dinosaurs. One thing I want to point out is that post-plant situation. We saw the diffuser get down. They had the control that they needed, especially being able to push Grizzly out of that spot in the memorial area. One of the positions you needed to get cleared, they got it cleared, and with quite ease as well. You know, they didn't have to expose too much utility to get him out of there. And then once in that retake, they we saw the members actually rotating out. So even if that Habana had lost that gunfight onto the Cade, that was still a winnable situation, as they had been able to retake back upstairs to watch the verticals and didn't have to overexpose themselves. That was just an insanely well played round. And it was, again, one thing I've mentioned in these games so far is the surgical of some teams. And to say the least, that was an extremely surgical kind of executed round there from the side of Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't made it to the semi-finals of the Open Quals for no reason, right? There's a few decent, well-known players on this side. You've got mainly kind of a Finnish core here of Rustin Katsola. Zidane, the French player, coming in, ex-Red Hood, as you can see, still in his tag there, as well as Hirzu. So, a good mix here. And this is the joy of having the open quals and having this new system, is that this roster, realistically, wouldn't have existed before that change. So, sort of melding across two vastly kind of separated scenes, at least historically, brings out some of the best in these players, and that's very exciting because, you know, individually, it's fair to say not many of these players have done incredibly well, maybe with the exception of Zidane being on that old Death Row roster, but now together they've made it quite far, and they're giving a fairly apt squad, a fairly decent looking squad in calories, a bit of a run for their money. Closing that distance, 2 attack rounds on Villa is a pretty good performance so far.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing to even laugh at. You know, it's a really good performance, to say the least. That's one of the things I'm most looking forward to with this combine. It's going to show, you know, the teams that couldn't exist or, you know, weren't really a prominent thing. It's giving them the option to show what they can do, show they're the best, and overall just show themselves off in the best light possible. And, you know, people can look at the combine, whatever, go, oh, it's just for the prize pool or whatever. But the amount of knowledge and control you can gain from being in this combine, even if you don't make it through to the actual main event, you're still going to walk away with so much from it. It's a no-brainer for a lot of teams not to join it, to be fair.
Yonka getting into engagement there. A bit of a scrap. Lots of players stationed now inside of Master Bedroom as Dinosaurs have slowly but surely gained control of this position with their breaching and their drone work. They are encroaching on the site. Grizzly, though, was the first to get a kill towards Katsola. Rastin with a response onto Grizzly. That is the Fenrir out for the count. Rastin just walked into sight there, but he's dealt with by Yonka swiftly. Oscar finds one. Oscar with another on Astro Stairs, completely dispatching with that bathroom side of the push. And now it's all up to Harzu in the 1 versus 4. Again, a very convincing round, this time coming out from Calories, with 4 men still left standing at the very close. And Lamb to finish it off. Gives them a nice, comfortable 4-2 split on Villa. But the work is not done yet.
The work is not done yet, but a 4-2 split makes that work that they need to do next that quite a bit easier. You know, you're 2 rounds on your opponents. It's ideally what you'd like. 4-2 split is typically what we do want to see coming out from a Villa defense. And that is exactly what they've gotten. So nothing to be angry about there. But the work has only now just begun. As again, we've mentioned before, Siege is a game of 2 halves. This could completely flip on its head, and we could see a complete reverse. This could go full OT, and we could see full 15 rounds. Will we see that? It's potential. What do you think, Jerry? Do you reckon we'll see any further plays?
I'm not willing to place a bet on the result at this point, but I am willing to place a bet on just how entertaining this is going to be as a second half. Because look at the lineup on both sides. We've got SkyT rocking the Nook, looking to lurk. We didn't get much of that on the Calories lineup. We saw maybe occasionally Dempster would go down into the basement as an Ash and sort of regroup with the rest of his team. But that's going to be a factor that Dinosaurs have to deal with. But on the Dinosaurs side, we're seeing a very interesting lineup themselves. Capcan being brought. It seems to be almost the meta now, at least within this server, within this game. Capcan on Dempster, but also the Clash. That's going to be a factor that maybe comes into play in the late round. It looks like Zidane did a decent job of hiding himself during prep. And Castle barricades in very unusual places here. They've created a maze on this top floor, right in the center. You see one right there. I mean, our observer is not connected with us, by the way. So just doing a great job of showing exactly where the castle barricades are by pure psychic energy. So I thank them for it. Thank you very much, our dear observer. I would have tried to say their name, but I have to admit, I don't know how to say it. So I don't want to butcher it.
We have a great observer nonetheless. You
Yeah.
know, we can't unfortunately pronounce the name, but our observer has been
only seen it
so
written
far.
down. Only seen it written down.
Yeah, so unfortunately, if someone can clarify what our observer's name is, would be great, so we can actually, you know, give them the credit they deserve. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. But one thing I do want to keep an eye on, and one thing you've mentioned, is this Clash. Clash, one of those operators that we don't typically get to see, Jerry. It's not an operator that's ever really pulled out that often. What she can pull and bring into this lineup is going to be quite interesting, to say the least, as that Clash can be one of those nuisance operators, as, you know, we're not seeing a Nomad being brought. We're not seeing the Capitao either. It's going to be an interesting one.
Oh, Grizzly hunting downstairs for Dempster. We don't know if he set any of these Capcan traps near himself. Most likely not. being guided through here. I don't know if Grizzly has the full intel, though. Looks like he's trying to work up through the hatch, and he's caught out by Densley just holding that angle. Oscar, though, coming up the stairs, should get a free kill here, as Lamb also adds to the calories tally, and a 4 versus 3 ensues for the attacking squad. Lamb now coming up to meet with Oscar, but they have to deal with Denster, who's rising these stairs and does take out Lamb. Falls back and is caught out yet again by Oscar, who's hauling calories across the line here. A 3 versus 2. One of those two on the defense is a clash, so we have to look to Katsola to produce some real heroics here, as he's the only one really with a gun in his hands.
All the Clash has got is a super short and shield, as the Clash is going to get felled by Junker on the red stairs. And this is all going to be left now to Katsola in a 1 versus 2 situation, as there's a lot of time here left on the clock to work with. And Katsola's also on a low amount of HP. This is going to be a dire situation, as the main stairs push is going to be happening. All it takes is one frag, though, is a headshot from Oscar, as he has gone nuclear this round. Is going to take down Katsola. And yet another round here on this side for Calories.
Just clean. Very, very clean from Calories. A couple of missteps, you have to say, but they always swept up their mistakes. They always accounted for them, and most of the time, it was Oscar accounting for them. A great round from the quite notorious player at this point. Everyone that's been watching Siege in the past year or so will know of this man and know of his capabilities. So very exciting to have him back in action once again. 5-2 the scoreline for Calories, and that's a lot more comfortable now after that split. They'll be very glad that they gained the first attacking round as well. It's not something you expect. Dinosaurs get their first choice of defensive site, and they can't convert it with that odd setup as well. It has to be said. You have to kind of justify that sort of thing in my books, and they haven't done that. So let's see if they have better luck here on the trophy defense.
Yeah, I'm actually going to see the Fenrir being brought out now. Fenrir is one of those operators I absolutely love being seen. I love seeing a Fenrir being brought every single time. The Fenrir can change up an attack so drastically. It makes it so much more difficult to attack when there's a Fenrir on the board. You're kind of almost forced into playing the Brava at times when you see that Fenrir, as he can just annihilate a team so easily, as you know, those long angles are just going to be sealed off. Villa has quite a few long angles. They're not the most prominent, so Fenrir is not as effective, I would say, on Villa, but still there's so many tight little cubby corners on this map. It can be quite a destructive operator.
Let's see if it comes to fruition. We've got our attackers now sort of stationing themselves around, doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They know this map now. This is, I think, the most unchanged, untouched map in the entire pool out of all 9 available. And it's been in the pool ever since its release, about 4 or 5 years ago now. It feels like ages that Villa was put into the game, but it's changed. It's adapted with the new operators that have always come in, the new gadgets, all of these reworks, all of these you know, balancing changes. And it still somehow manages to feel fresh time after time. Grizzly getting very deep towards the site here. Caught out by Rust in there on the red stairs. And Oscar will have to try and ascend them to make some work of him. But decides to go underneath instead. Has those nades. Wants to put those to good use instead. First, SkyT coming forward from 90. He's going to look to try and pinch these players out, as Lamb has already forced his way into Master Bedroom. Oscar does take out Denster on that lurk, finally getting some value from beneath, it would seem. And now 4 versus 4, and Calories can slow down perhaps a little bit and assess their options.
Yes, Calories still quite an amount of options here, as pretty much all the players, the only person who's going to be off side of sight is going to be Rastin, who's going to be holding on those red stairs. And Sky could be the one here to deal with him if he is getting aware, as the angles are being held. Potentially Rastin are going to fall, as this is get quite tense as the players on the stairs. I don't think Skyty's knows, and Rastin's also going to swing up at the same time, take down Skyty, as Junka's going to make his way through the bathroom. It's all going to be down to Junka's shoulders here in a 1 versus 4 situation. Still ample amount of time. He's still on full HP. It's all to win for here. Pre-fire is going to come as the Astral Stair swing is going to happen. The head not going to be quite fine. Pistol in hand. Fires some pre-fires through. Not going to quite land anyone, as he's just going to assess the situation. Take a pause and wait and see if anyone wants to peek, as it finds a headshot onto Haizu. And now we're left in a 3 versus 1 situation here, Jerry. Still a lot of time to play with.
A lot of time to play with, but of course, that 1 versus 4. Now 1 versus 3 is always difficult. Got to walk through this bedroom door into a crossfire. FNAT mine goes off, and that spells his demise. That is about as nasty a position as you could possibly ask for. Rustin will steal the kill. Himself knows exactly how to react to his own mines. He put it there. And that is a good round coming out from Dinosaurs. Calories just falling apart when it came to that sort of transition period, moving from the early kill to the setup for the execute. And Dinosaurs matched them. Dinosaurs absolutely matched them. Keeping pace here with a solid team. I'm excited by this Dinosaurs roster because honestly, the way that they're keeping up with this Calories team, it spells to me that they are probably going to be popping up in a few more of these brackets towards the end of things over the next couple of weekends, over tomorrow, over next weekend. I think we can maybe put a little kind of asterisk on them and say, keep an eye on this squad.
It's a fresh enough squad as well. So if with more experience and more time, they can only grow bigger and better. You know, as we can see from the side of Calories, there's a number of players on the squad that are quite experienced. As you know, Grizzly is one, and then you've also got Oscar as well. Both players are quite, they know how to play the game. Essentially, they've been around. They've won the t-shirt. They've been around the place. But when you get a team like the side of Dinosaurs, they're quite new enough players to say the least. They can only grow better. They can't go backwards. This is a roster that will be feared, and just even give them a few months, this is going to be a very powerful roster.
Here we go. AVG defense for Dinosaurs. Lamb, we saw him had a very sort of explosive start to the game. He is still going 8-4, still an exceptionally good KD, but there really hasn't been a single hero in this game. Everyone's sort of playing a fairly level playing field here. Lamb being maybe that one standout. Slightly not too far behind, of course, in the stats department. And I just want to see a little bit more from Lamb because I feel like we know that this guy has potential. Haizu falling back here. Doesn't actually claim the drone on his way, unfortunately for him. We'll shoot some plant pots on the way back. Doesn't quite like the decor around the villa, so we'll just modify it to his liking. That's one of the beauties of Siege, You can change the map to your liking, including potted plants.
Maybe he's not a fan of that particular plant that was in the pot. No. Just get rid of it. Just, a single bullet removes it off the map. You never have to worry about it again. You could be allergic to the plant. Who knows? There's a number of reasons why you might shoot it. You could be getting hay fever from the plant. Who knows? That could be possible either. So you want to keep your players at best senses.
Yeah. There's something I want to kind of point out here. Same setup, no clash from Dinosaurs. Zidane taken out as Oscar finds him on that lurk, though. That means you are short that one body. And I do wonder if this adaptation in the setup and the extra gun will make a difference, especially now that they're down and out.
Especially, in my opinion, bringing the Fenrir over the Clash is just an infinitely better option. Especially as you mentioned, you get an extra gun on your side, which is always nice. Extra gun person that can shoot down players. But also those Fenrir gadgets, the F-mats, they're by far going to be one of the strongest gadgets coming into the game. I don't think we've seen a gadget like that has changed up the meta since probably about Azami. The Fenrir F-mats, they can just drastically change how you attack a map so much. I think it's going to be one of those gadgets that will get nerfed quite shortly.
This is such a strange setup with the castle barricade on that doorway, because you could see Calories just free to walk and support the players in 90. Denser, though, does take down Oscar. That is the lurking nook dealt with and out of the picture, so they can maybe focus their efforts forwards. When it comes to the defense, all eyes trained in the same direction. Lots of bodies still stacked up on that 90 position, and no opportunity to flank because you don't have any impacts in hand for the defenders. Instead, you've got one player trying to hold this red stairs up by beautiful peek from Rastin onto Lamb. Completely nullifies that side of the attack, and it's very one-dimensional now here from Calories. They're walking into a firing range. Jonker is last alive here, taken down by Katsola. A very clean setup and clean execution coming through there from Dinosaurs. It seemed as though that castle barricade maybe was causing them some issues in terms of just not understanding whether it's an advantage or not, but Dinosaurs made it work. They had that backup that I needed them to justify those castle barricades, and it seems like they've done that.
Yeah, they finally justified why the castles were placed where they were. It seemed like it was a bit of a kind of a maze, bit of random spots for them, but unfortunately, clearly it was shown that they had them in very strategical spots where they knew how to play them into their advantage. And then removing the clash for the Fenrir, I think that was ultimately what was needed in that setup, just to really just nail it home and just send the point of, we know what we're doing here. These castles, you might not like them, we know what we're doing with them.
It's inventive. It's actually refreshing to see something vaguely innovative. I may be... There's always a problem when I say something like this, which is that maybe it has happened before, right? Maybe in the thousands of hours of Villa that have been played competitively, someone has done that, and I'm not going to be able to credit them properly because I don't absorb it quickly enough or for long enough. But that is the first time I've seen so many castle barricades deployed in the middle of Villa. It's a very strange setup for an AVG defense, and they've made it work 1 out of 2 times. So I'll give it some thought going forward as a viable strategy, perhaps. And it's something that's caught Calories off guard there. So, well, it's not really caught them off guard. They saw it already. But it's lost them around, and that's something when you're up against this side. So, on to the kitchen defense now, and a heavy amount of investment going into the top floor from Dinosaur's defensive setup. Lots of electricity deployed to prevent any sort of hard breach on those master bedroom walls, and an extension into living room as well.
Yeah, an extension to living room it's not typically, you know, the most common setup, you know, extending out this heavy for a kitchen defense. Normally you kind of see the extensions would be done kind of above instead of kind of going outwards. So it'll be interesting to see how that is going to work here into the setup, as there's already some pre-fire angles being opened up already here from the Thatcher Grizzly, as that wall into the kitchen area is going to also get blown open as well, as there's quite a bit of control here gained in quite short amount of time here.
4 C4s as well on the side of Dinosaur, so they are looking to play from beneath for certain, give up that ground and cause some problems from beneath.
As you say, that C4 is going to get chucked over out through the window, and it won't find any meeting markers, as no one is there just to welcome that C4 with opening arms. As it's a little bit of a waste of C4 as an angle there. Beautiful shot come there from Lamb though. Lamb showing that how good of a player that he really truly is. And this extension that was done into the living room has pretty much been exterminated.
Yeah, and through a very direct and possibly even predictable method as well. Just walking in through library, taking that fight. Lamb just bettering his opposition there in Rustin. As a bit of revenge for the wonderful shot we saw from Rustin onto Lamb last round. Katsola holding from this kitchen doorway, taking shots at the soft wall towards the lounge, of course. Still players above him to assist. Denser is not really being pressured up there. Neither is Harzu, and they can hold these very advantageous vertical angles down on the attack, which are very focused laterally. They're not trying to take this top floor. Oscar, though, as always, is doing his own thing. He's kind of lurking, waiting for the opportunity to pounce on that top floor, find that moment, that perfect moment. He's so good at spotting it and knowing when to pounce on the attack. That is his real talent, but with 49 seconds left, there's not much time left to do it.
Not much time left to do, and there's only one body being dropped with this much time left on the clock. It's quite unusual. There's no one holding Memorial, there's no extension there. So Memorial is pretty much a free take, as we say that Lamb is going to make his way in, C4s are going to get thrown. And this is all kind of going to come down to a bottleneck here, as 3 members are going to make an attempt to push in the door, as Oscar's going to find one to Denster, as Aiden is also going to find one to Lamb. Junker's going to find one of his own as well, as that diffuser is now going to get set on the ground, and he is going to start warming up. As I say, that Castle is going to find one, as Grizzly is going to find one back, as Junker is also going to fall, and then we're in a 1 versus 2 situation, as that diffuser is still cold on the ground. No one is there to pick it up. 10 seconds on the clock here. This is going to be a tight round, as it's the final member left in the side of Laundry. Sky is going to find the final kill. And that's another round here on the board, as the side of Calories take once more.
Sketchy stuff there. Very dangerous round for Calories, considering how one-dimensional that push was, right? They pushed with 2 bodies through library, got an entry frag. They pushed with 3 bodies through memo, got themselves a couple of kills, started planting, didn't have intel on the player inside the laundry. And that almost actually cost them, even though he was the last player alive for Dinosaurs. Diffuser down. That was the key component there. Killed the diffuser planter inside of Tetris, and at that point, Calories, 2 players left. You know where that last player is. You just got to send it towards Laundry and get the kill. No point trying to pick up the diffuser there, because you've got to fight the man inside of Laundry. They did just that. A great little round of the corner from SkyT to clear it out, and spare Calories blushes, shall we say, because there was some interesting movements in that round. They really did just go all in with this one kind of death ball approach, and it worked to an extent, but it was almost caught out at the very last moment.
Yeah, it was quite a shaky one. I was kind of on the edge of my seat there for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I was on the edge of the seat there once the Valk was left in the laundry area. But one thing I would like to kind of see again, I want to see this the laundry or the living room extension, but with just a little bit more presence. As we saw, you know, it was able just for, you know, I think it was Oscar, or it was Oscar or Lamb that pushed into the living room, was able to get the frag, and it was able to take the control pretty much instantly. You know, there was no real contention, no one's slowing them down, which is not ideal. So if we get to see that again with just a little bit more kind of pressure, even a little more aggression, I reckon that site and that kind of control would actually work extremely well.
Match point here for Calories. They get 2 opportunities to close this out and send themselves through to the final up against Team Valor, who've been waiting oh so patiently and are probably watching this game right this second with, you know, eager eyes, trying to dissect exactly what it is calories are doing, find out their little habits, their foibles, and turn them against them. They'll have that advantage of tape. Lamp hops on in, straight in, aggressively into Master Bedroom. Doesn't react quickly to the cross of Katsola, but does land the second attempt as the swing comes back. The Mormai really trapped in that position. Yellow Ping, though, out into his position, will spell his demise, and Rustin picking up Jonker in the meantime. No more Thatcher. Skyty, though, pushing through and taking out Zidane will even this man count as Haizu looks to try and come back to the site after doing his work from beneath. We have still got players deep inside a site, just fighting these long angles. They're expecting the Astro and Bedroom push, and they are falling back to this spot, but they may be weak to a little bit of a backstab here, and Oscar is still alive, so watch out for that.
Oscar being left alive, especially on the Nook, one of those really sneaky operators. As I said, that Grizzly is going to also fall there to Rastin, leaving us in a 3 versus 2 situation, but that Nook is still alive, as we can slowly see her creep up those Astro stairs, evading the cams, as this could, she finds the one onto Denster, and now we're left in a 2 versus 2 situation.
Rastin at that long angle needs to do some work here. Pushes forward, in fact, up onto the statue, leaving his teammate behind. Haizu covering the other side. Both Calories players stacked up. They go for the double swing, and Rastin melts them both. 2 headshots back to back. That's one way to finish the round and close that gap yet again. 6-5, and we are going to go all the way to round 12, the end of regulation. Great game.
And a tactical timeout is going to get called here from the Dinosaurs, just wanting to slow down that momentum and pick themselves together. That was an absolutely amazing round coming from them. They're wanting to make sure they can carry that momentum over, bring us to the full, finish off this full regulation, bring us into the overtime. I teased the overtime at the start of the game. Said, kind of 3 rounds in. Do you reckon we'd see it? It looks like we might actually get to see it, Jerry.
How did you do that?
I am. It's called the psychic. It's the psychic. I'm a psychic apparently now. We had a psychic observer.
True.
A psychic caster.
Why am I the only one without psychic powers? I want psychic powers. Give them to me. Can you bestow psychic powers? Is that something that psychic people can do? Is that allowed?
Unfortunately, I cannot. It is something that the gifted only receive. I do apologize, Jerry.
Oh.
Other than that, but I will share my wealth of psychic knowledge on you, though. Okay. You don't have to worry. You'll be informed of the psychic knowledge.
Oh, that's very, very gracious of you. Very generous. And I don't want you to get kicked from the psychic circle. So yeah, don't tell me your secrets, but tell me what you know when you get that info, because I need to know. Based on this. Overtime or not?
We're seeing the full 15 rounds.
You think?
We see the full 15. We're seeing the full 15.
All right.
I'm going to I'll put my money where my mouth is and say it's the full 15 rounds.
Rose the Prophet has said it.
I'd be confident. I'm confident in the Jerry from what we've seen.
Okay.
And what the psychic gods are telling me.
So we're gonna see a AVG defense success here. This same setup. This very same setup with castle barricades aplenty. And they have rotated off the Fenrir this time. Keeping it mix-up strategy. Going with the Ella instead. A little bit more, takes a little bit less prep in a way. You can almost play Ella a little bit more aggressively. Of course, the Scorpion as well. Arguably a deadlier weapon than the MP7 that Fenrir does wield. And, yeah, just, I wouldn't argue that she's a better option. I would possibly say, all things considered, especially with the fact that you've got Fenrir with the Bailiff, you can help with setup and things. Probably overall a better operator, Fenrir, for certain, I think. But a bit of a side grade in some ways. You've got other little niche applicabilities that the Ella has. And, of course, probably the biggest thing is she has that shield. So lending to the setup in that sense more than anything.
Yeah, and since, the nerfs of a lot of the operators losing their shields, bringing operators with shields now, so Ella might be seen a little more. Again, she's one of those operators that typically we don't see very often. It's something that, if you're going to be bringing someone with kind of a trap gadget, you're going to be kind of bringing that Fenrir, you're going to be bringing that Capcan. Ella is kind of one of those kind of underrated operators, in my opinion. Those Grismonted can be an absolute hindrance. If you're trying to push into sight in the last dying seconds, you get Grismonted. Your vision is going to be skewed. Your audio is also going to go down the hill as well, and it just overall will just kind of distract you so hard that it can cause you to lose the gunfights. So bringing Ella, it's a little bit of a strange operator to say the least, but
Mhm.
I am definitely all here for it. I want to see what the Ella can do. But in the meantime, these Flores drones are going to rip down those castle barricades that were causing all the issues in the previous attack onto this site.
Mm.
So that castle barricade has been stripped from existence, and where it will lead, nobody knows.
Smart option, I think, from Calories. Simplifying the game state, removing those kind of questionable aspects, bringing this map back to what they know and what they trust, taking apart that defensive setup. And now Lamb advancing to that wolf position. He's going to maybe try and take the peek onto the player on these red stairs, but Rasid is prone, coming under pressure now from Oscar below, as well as a teammate in support. All the guns trained in his position. That was top of the priority list for Calories, and they pick up the attempted refrag there from Denser. Skyty with that kill to his name. A 3 versus 5 now, and Dinosaurs staring down the barrel of a 7-5 loss here. They can turn it back though. 43 seconds left. They just have to hold back the tide. Calories have a moment or two to get some drone work done before they execute.
There's still a lot of utility left on the board, as we see nades coming up from below, but they're not going to be able to take down that deployable. But as I say that, it's going to get just ripped off of that map table, so that deployable is not going to be an issue, but it's still going to be Zayden here holding the angle, and he's got a shotgun in hand to meet any attacker that's looking to come through. C4 is going to get prepped out, but it's not going to be able there to find anyone, as all the angles are going to be trained on this one zombie door, as where this looks to be the main attack is going coming from. As Ace is looking to get through his Jonka, C4 explodes. The shotgun in hand is going to be met with opening arms, as Katsolo is also going to find one in the process.
No way.
We're going down into a 3 versus 3 situation, as the Nook is also going to fall in the situation. Grizzly jumping through that door window. And it's all coming down to dire straits. The timer, just one is going to be down. And that's the OT confirmed, as the shotgun from Zayden is going to be there with opening arms, giving the player Grizzly just a little kiss on the forehead with that headshot. And we are going to overtime.
How did you know? A 3 versus 5 for Dinosaurs to put them into OT. Calories just making misstep after misstep, it seemed, in the 5 versus 3 on their side. Yonka just stepping through the doorway, not expecting a double angle to be held against him. We knew he didn't. That was the issue. No pressure around that 90 side either. That was the gap in the armor. Realistically, everyone on Dinosaurs was holding towards that vault door, or rather the zombie door. And Calories walked straight into it. That was problematic, very problematic. Some questions going to be asked there from Calories about their own play, about their decision making in that 5 versus 3, because realistically this is a team known as, you know, previously under the banner of 10 Star, we called them Trade Star. A 5 versus 3, that's a one game for them. You know, that should be 7-5, that should be it. They should be through and to that final. But this is a new side trying to kind of solidify that dynamic, that team dynamic, keep things moving forward and grow. And it seems like Dinosaurs are putting up quite a hefty fight now as we go into this overtime here, with Dinosaurs on the defense after a very defender-sided Villa.
Villa is one of those maps that, you know, it's typically a little more defender-heavy than the attacker-favoured. But Villa, for the side of Dinosaurs, has just been pretty much all one-sided. It's not gone, you know, it's not been kind of even 50-50. It's not been split up. It's just been so heavy favoured here for the side of Dinosaurs. And I'm loving the defenses they're bringing us here. You know, they've been so innovative with what they're bringing. You know, we saw that castle setup that was kind of amazing through the middle of the map. They just bring out so many. They're freshening up Villa for us. You know, a map that hasn't been reworked, but always sort of seems fresh. They're just making it fresher, apparently.
Tense stuff, very tense stuff here. Calories do not want to make a single misstep now. They know where they stand. They know that they have the goal of making that final. They know they want to win this whole open qualifier. And they maybe saw Dinosaurs as an easy target. I would imagine. They saw Dinosaurs as a relatively easy target. And have maybe underestimated them. If they haven't, then I have to say I've underestimated Dinosaurs right now. They are putting up a good fight. Now, this breach work can come through onto the top floor, disable some positions. Of course, this is one of those breaches you don't really care about getting a full breachable hole. You just want that sight line to prevent any sort of tomfoolery rotations between the sites. You can hold a long angle all the way through. Skyty already into closet here. Seems like most of the time this first step has been well done by both sides, getting in and clearing out master bedroom and bathroom. It's the steps after that that have been a little bit of a struggle when it comes to these pushes, and Zayden will find the opening frag of this overtime onto Grizzly, dealing with the IQ, a C4 from the Valkyrie. Almost irony there. Oscar, though, will return the favor, taking out Harazu, dealing with that Valk threat, and now 4 versus 4 in the mid-round.
4 versus 4 in the mid-round. Still a lot of time on the clock. I mean, a lot of time to work with, and that breach doesn't look like it's going to get opened up anymore, as Zayden is just going to be chilling in the corner, just being a little bit of a rodent in the bathroom. He's not wanting to, not expose this position too much.
Oh.
As a swing could happen here, as a swing comes through, as it's going to be Zayden to find one onto Skyty, as he was already on a low amount of HP. It's a 4 versus 3 situation, and Zayden is just going to sneak his way out of the bathroom, finds one, and able to get himself into a little bit more of a safe ground, though, as Lamb is going to find one, finds the headshot onto Denster, as it's going to be a swing coming out here from the Cade, as Zayden is also going to find one back onto Lamb, and that's one of your influential players taken down as defender. Gadget activates, Rostin finds one, Katsola with the final, and Junka's falling, and as Dinosaurs putting us now onto overtime match point.
Very nice. Great play from Zayden in particular there inside the master, or rather the bathroom, playing into master bedroom. Found that key kill. The fallback was caught, but just after that, trade after trade came through from Dinosaurs. They are now on overtime match point. They have pulled this one back. We were looking at a 6-2 lead. No, sorry, not 6-2. 5-2 lead at one point for Calories. And now they need a perfect overtime here. 1 defense, 1 attack. Dinosaurs, on the other hand, just that 1 round will be enough now to see them through. They've won that defense. Even if they lose this attack, they have a second defense to fall back on. Will be an AVG defense here for Calories. First time we get to see them defending in a very long while, but we do remember from that first half, they were exceptionally dominant when it came to this defense. So if I was a betting man, I would say max OT at this point.
I would also agree. This is going full 15. There's not a shadow in my doubt in my mind anymore that we'll see the full 15. We'll see the full 9 yards played, as this is probably one of the most exciting games of Siege we've probably got to witness in quite a while. It's decide. I'm going to have to point out Dinosaurs here. I'm going to have to give them major credit here, because everything they've been bringing on their defense has just been kind of what seemed to be in a massive experiment. They're just trying new things, kind of unconventional sort of strategies that typically we don't see, because the meta in Siege at the moment is kind of just a rinse and repeat. We'll kind of play it, it'll work, that sort of thing. But Dinosaurs are not wanting to follow that kind of same kind of straight, they're not wanting to follow that anymore. They go, screw that, we'll do our own thing, we'll bring out something new, and it's working. That castle strategy that that we kind of pointed out, you weren't the biggest fan of it, to say the least, on the first round, but after that, once the clash was taken off, it showed its dividends, it paid its marker.
It won 2 rounds
extremely well.
It won 2 rounds after that.
Strong.
After that first loss, it did win. Well, it won them the second round. I would say Calories lost the one after that, to be fair, right? That was a 5 versus 3 that they fumbled, and that's why we're in overtime in the first place. But let's turn our attention to this round now. AVG defense, like we've said, and a clear coming through from Dinosaurs from that northeastern side. Typical stuff on Villa. 1 player inside a statue to contend with. The swing comes out, and it's just not lethal enough. Jonka may be lingering a bit there. The extended position and the elevated position there of Katsola on top of the bed, catching him off guard, not able to place that crosshair on the head of our bedroom dwelling Finn, I believe. I was just sort of double taking there. We've got some Finns on our side on Dinosaurs. You love a Finn.
We do. It's always great to see some of the Finn players, and a lot of the Finnish players have been some of the most predominant players in Siege and some of the best players for quite some time now, and it doesn't look like that trend is going to let up anytime soon. As Sky is also just going to lurk around here down in the dining room, just seeing if anyone can be caught off guard, almost finding a player from the vertical plays. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case now, as Oscar is going to be still sitting in this power position, as we've seen him doing some amazing plays from here in previous rounds. As a shot's going to come through, as he just manages to sneak his way through, somehow matrixing all those bullets that were coming towards him. As Grizzly's going to find one, as Sky is also going to find a second on Katsola. And now this round is once again flipped on its head.
Yeah, that certainly eases the pressure on Calories' shoulders right now. Good couple of kills there. Skyty will return to site. Denster now trying to push up towards this vault door and enable the default plant. Honestly, at this point, he may be able to slip in uncontested, unnoticed, if he's lucky enough. But there is a BP cam being operated by Jonka, most likely reading into this position right here. There it is, sending out those flash grenades to try and disable the player, anyone playing by that doorway. Breach is going to be tried to be opened up. Oh, the nade doesn't connect with the mute jammer. It won't remove it, and so that breach will not be successful. They cannot get this breach open. 20 seconds left, and a real spanner has been thrown in the works of Dinosaurs, but they are finding the kills. Dempster on that doorway finds Lamb, and now they can push deep into sight. Dempster will keep going. Does take down one, as Dempster's downed in the process. Hozu claiming that kill. Zayden trying to set diffuser, but there are red pings on his position. Hozu with the cover could be enough. Oscar now last alive in the 1 versus 2. Can he win this fight? Yes, he can, and the diffuser has to be falled off to prolong his life. A stat save coming through there from the Hibana, but that is so much closer than it should have been for Calories. They still cling on, though.
And we move to round 15, as predicted, very early on, at, I think it was round number 3. We head to the full 9 yards, 15 rounds of Siege, to say the least. I predicted this.
Yep, you've done it. You are the prophet goddess Arya. It's the perfect name for it as well. You know, it
works so well.
Well, 7-7. Who'd have thought that this would be where we would be? I'm so glad we decided to pick up this game. Quite honestly, we did go to a break after the other semi-finals, saying, you know, we'll wait, we'll pick up the final. But then we saw this one was just starting. We thought, you know what? Why not? Imagine how disappointed we'd have been to have just said, yeah, we'll wait, and then see a max OT bagger of a game just pass us by.
And, you know, to say the least, we weren't prepared to even take this game.
No.
For something that I was literally chilling on my phone and waiting for the final to start. And you said, we do the game? Why not? Hell of it. Let's do it. Let's throw us into it. And then for it to come to full 15 rounds of what has been literal hairline moments in this game, I don't think there's a better game of Siege we could have asked for. This is definitely going to be one of the highlight games. And if we can see something like this for the final, we are in for one hell of a night here, Jerry.
You know what makes me happier than seeing someone drop a 20 bomb? Is seeing 6 players in lobby break double digits. Everyone, literally everyone in this server is chipping in. There's not a single dud player. No one's going to come out of this game and think, oh, I really, I played awfully. Maybe a lot of them will come out and think I could have played better, but none of them are going to be feeling the burn. It's a team game this right now. 2 incredible teams slogging against each other at this point. 2 minutes 23 left on the timer, and we see a trade early on. Dempster taking out Skyty, but Lamb with the immediate refrag. Jonker now with one onto Rastin, and it's a quick push coming out from Calories, and they have that man advantage. Now they can sit back on it, assess the situation perhaps, as Dinosaurs are forced into a really sticky situation here.
Definitely not ideal situations here, as Zayden's also going to get pressure quite heavily, but he has got the side control that he can push himself back in and kind of sit deeper. But I think he's looking to get a little bit aggressive, but that trigger discipline that Zayden is showing to us is absolutely insane. As Lamb is just waiting here with open arms, as Zayden's going to take a little bit of damage. Swings are going to come through, but no one's going to quite land any shots. These red pings are coming out as those EE1Ds showing their markers as a headshot comes out from Lam onto Katsola, and that's going to bring us down into a 2 versus 4 situation. As this Kite Twins, as Zayden's going to find one back onto Grizzly. This game is back and forth. There is no deciding winner in this one here, Jerry.
Ozu trying to fight back through that open breach. Zayden very close here with the shotgun, could deliver a really nasty surprise if anyone on Calories aren't prepared for it. The 3 versus 2 in favor of the attacking squad. Calories, you have to back them here. Ozu just escaping with his life there as he crosses into Vault. The cross not held well enough, and Zayden taking some flack here through the cross as the buddies flood on in to the aviator site. A diffuser is being attempted here as Jonker sets it down behind the vault door. They cannot get an angle here. No C4 to toss. It will be a post plant. Oscar takes out Haruzu, all up to Zayden on a smidgen of HP. Oscar at the double to seal the deal. They claw it back in overtime. It was a truly scary prospect, but the Dinosaurs have been blown apart. They are extinct in the context of this open qualifier. Calories move forward to a final against Team Valor.
What a game. I'm left speechless after that. Dinosaurs, major props. You're against Calories, a team that has shown time again what they can do. And you've just, you were running stuff that isn't typical. It's not common. And you made it work so well. And just overall, what a game of Siege we've just got to witness tonight.
Unbelievable game.
That is our highlight.
Very entertaining. Very, very entertaining game of Siege. We love it. Sorry, just something came up. You know what I'm talking about. I'm going to show everyone what we're laughing at here.
I think we have to show everyone
This
that
just
is.
popped up on both of our screens at the same time. That is the like wallpaper, I think, for our clean feed. So as soon as the game finished, that just threw me way off. But yeah.
Was not expecting that
No,
to
I
pop up on my screen.
wasn't expecting
That
it
was-
either. Very funny. So we're gonna take what should actually be this time a quick break because Team Valor have been waiting a good long time for this game to finish
Also
now.
patiently.
You know, it's 10-6 where I am. I think they finished their game at something like 3:30. They've been waiting maybe like 2.5 hours, something like that. So they deserve to finally get their grand final, and we deserve as viewers to finally get that. So we will be back with it very, very shortly. Don't go too far. Hey guys, just wanted to pop in and say thank you for the raid, Fresh. Very exciting to see so many people here. Of course, you're coming here for the open qualifier. I'm not going live just yet. Just wanted to come in and say hello to everybody. It's really nice to see everyone here. We are sorting out the grand final, Team Valor versus whoever the hell just won. Who was it? Calories, of course. We are sorting out that game behind the scenes. So just give us a few, and once we have that game ready, we'll come back to you. Thank you all for the raid, and stay with us for just 10 minutes or so before we get that game set up. All right, see you in a bit. Hello everybody and welcome to the grand final of the Open Qual #1 for the R6 Combine. My name is Jerry the Music Man. I'm joined here by the wonderful Goddess Aria, or Rose, and this is just a brilliant game that we have lined up for us. Border of all maps to see out the first Combine qualifier. How are you feeling, Rose?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it so far. That last game, what a cracking game we got to see. And Border, a map we typically don't see that often. I'm super excited to see some Border played here. It's none of the typical, Oregon, none of that. We're going to see something new, something fresh. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's exactly what we want. It's exactly what we want. This is a pair of teams that people would have had their eyes on since the start of the bracket, when these teams were announced as well. Calories, in case you're unaware, are effectively the X 10-star lineup. I've just realised that my title is incorrect, so I'll be updating that in a moment. And maybe, Rose, talk us through these bans, because we've got some tasty ones. Ossa, Dokkaebi, Solis, all very powerful operators on this map.
Yeah, the Ossa ban. It's one of the. I love seeing Ossa bans come out, especially on maps like Border. Ossa is just one of those operators. She's so well rounded in every single aspect. You've got the talent and shields, which are an insanely strong bit of utility. There's very little counters unless you have explosives. There's nothing much you can do about them. You've also got impact DMPs, an amazing little secondary gadget. Instead of when Sasha gets taken off the board, or when you just needed to remove some of that. Those electricals, you can bring those impact EMPs. They're absolutely amazing to bring. They're a beautiful piece of kit. And then she's got an amazing loadout on top of that. There's no reason not to bring an Ossa, in my opinion. She's just one of those heavily well-rounded operators that works in pretty much every single situation. There's no reason not to bring her, especially as well. Dokkaebi being taken off, those logic bombs, and just even hacking that utility. It's just something that a lot of people just don't really want to deal with, which is quite understandable, as Dokkaebi in current meta has been quite prominent. And that's Solus, right? I really want to point into this Solus for just a couple seconds here, if that's alright with you.
Yeah, go for it.
That Solus been taken off. I've seen a lot of Solus being used now in kind of recent weeks, and I've kind of, as I'm an analyst for a team as well, I've kind of really looked into how the Solus is played. The Solus can determine for a defending team so much intel that removing her off the board is such a powerful play. The Solus can detect where the drones are coming from, tell the defense where the attack is highly likely, and you can really rotate your attack or your defense, I should say, into facing towards that attack, and you can have so much prep gained from just spotting where those drones are. Taking out the Solus is such a massive power play, in my opinion, that I really think Solus is definitely up there for one of the better operators that you can be taking off in a ban phase.
Yeah, really powerful operator, especially on this map as well. You really have to play out of the map, and SkyT's doing just that, holding very aggressively. This is a sort of trend we're starting to see now on Border. We saw a lot of it through Stage 1 in EUL, even before that really at the 6th invite when Border was brought out, fighting for control of these east stairs, because as an attacker, realistically, it's all about taking east stairs. You get east stairs, you control the map. Nako has managed to force his way through without too much resistance. SkyT decided to give up that ground relatively easily within the first minute. That maybe is a little bit too soon for my liking, but it just goes to show that Team Valor are doing exactly what they need to clear the positions they need to. A nade sent towards Skies by Rykos, and that's an opening frag team kill from Team Valor. Not what you want to see. The number of claymores, all of that sort of, all of that caution put, and it was his own teammate that was his undoing.
It's always unfortunate when we see these team kills, as actually Rice and the Capcan here are just going into a bit of a standstill as that nade's going to get pulled. Surely Sky's going to hear the noise. The pin got pulled, and surely there should be a swing here as the swing comes out, and that's going to be Sky finding the head of Rise. And that's just an unfortunate play, as I don't think they're aware of that Capcan's positioning there in the slightest, as Oscar's also going to take another little bit of damage. And it's all going to be left to play for here, as it's just a trade of damage back and forth consistently.
Constantly. Rykos getting into a bit of a skirmish around this soft wall. Jack's taking some shots through the window there, and Oscar fighting back on very low HP, sends out an impact, and it will down Nako there. And now he can fight for this position inside of Archives. Team Valor looking very battled, very bruised. So are Calories, but they haven't lost any bodies in the process, and that has been the main difference. Calories just that bit more lethal in the final punches. Nako trying to skirt around to a position where he can be safely rezzed. They need all bodies on deck for this final push. 33 seconds left. Neko's still down, but there we go. Finally, the res coming through. Rykos leading the charge. Hits a goo mine. That's going to be troublesome. Lambie will finish him off. Put an end to his misery at range. This lovely little 1.5 scope being exercised by our newcomer. This Finn being picked up by the Calories roster. Do keep an eye on him. We said that last game. Do keep an eye on him for certain. Oscar jumps on out. Takes down Nako. And it's a foregone conclusion. Jonker will sweep up Jax for the final kill of the round. Team Calories off to a very strong start.
Calories looking extremely strong there to start off. Unfortunately, we saw the team kill. A little unfortunate. And then it was just the Capcan that was lurking down in the workshop. The lack of drone play there was definitely, it seems to be the issue that was kind of a highlighted thing there. Rise really should have had someone to drone him in and just have the idea of if, whether that was clear or not to do that. Pulling a nade without even really searching through the workshop. As workshop has quite a lot of those little kind of cubby corners that you can kind of chill and hide in, and you can really be a nuisance. So not really effectively droning that was definitely a little bit of a misplay there. Moving to rounds, that kind of issue will be kind of patched up on, and they can kind of recover from there. That's something I would typically like to see.
There we go. All right, just having a couple of little technical issues behind the scenes right now, but I think we have those sorted. We will keep ourselves updated on that. Of course, if anyone's wondering, we're running just a two-person operation here. Myself streaming and casting and producing, and I've got Ari got us here by my side just to make sure all the glue. You're basically the glue of the broadcast here, because I've got to do so many different things. And if I have to jump out to do something, you've got my back. I know that for certain. So it's very good to have you here. Thank you very much for joining me.
I do try. We struggle a little bits, but we do our best.
We do our best.
That's all the viewers can ask of us.
That's all anyone can ask. That's all anyone can ask. Round 2, and Calories of that round. They were gifted a bit of an opening there, but let's just say that they backed it up with a decent amount of mid-round plays, and Oscar doing some great work there to get a good few kills. I mean, well, do a lot of work. He only got the 1 kill confirmed to his name, but he was causing a lot of problems. Everyone really on the side of Calories chipping in some way or another. Early round here, and the walls being opened up, these doorways are being opened up. Rise is definitely going to make sure that he doesn't step into a friendly nade, but also any C4s or anything that comes his way. It's a dangerous position to be playing, and Rykos gets that early frag against Oscar. This time round, Team Valor in a bit more control as they are attacking the basement now. Oscar was in that very extended position, dealt with, no refrag available.
Leaving that position without a refrag available is not exactly the position you want to be in. And for Team Valor getting that early frag, especially onto Oscar, who we've seen over the last couple of games, has had an absolute storming game. So that's definitely someone we want to take down very early on in these rounds. And he's definitely one of the influential players, to say the least. But still going to be Junker causing a lot of issues here in the CCTV area. As I say that, Sky, he's going to find one onto the headshot of Nako. And that's still going to bring us now to 4 vs 4. A lot closer situation and a lot more to work with here as the head's going to get swung, but it's going to be Rykos to win out on that gunfight against Skydy. And the game is just a game of frags back and forth. It's not your typical border, to say the least. It's all just gun skill.
Well, yeah, border's going to be like that quite a lot of the time, isn't it? Now, I think that, honestly, that was a bit of a misstep from Team Valor, not spotting SkyT in that corner. That speaks to a bit of a misdrone there. Does get punished, though. Very important that refrag came through. They still have that man advantage. Sky's very close here to this opening. Of course, it's been left soft. They are trying to defend from beneath here. Lamb has a C4 in pocket. Will try and send it out when he finds the opportunity. But Jonker lurking inside of CCTV. How has he done that? How is he still there? Surely, Team Valor, they have to close down this man before they can move forward with their plan. He's still a problem.
He's still a major thorn in the side here, as everyone seems to try and push him. But say that Skies is going to find the kill onto Jonka, and that is going to be the thorn in the side removed out the side of Valor. And now they have a little bit more freedom. They can slowly waltz their way around the map, get these drones in, get the positioning found, as the final 2 players are pretty much on site. So this is going to have to be a bit of a collapse here to try and take them down, as all the angles just have to be held here, as there's not that many options they have to attack this.
Yeah, opening up the hatch there, looking down. Lamb trying to play up through. He doesn't have a C4, so he's just going to hold this angle very aggressively. He doesn't want to move an inch. Otherwise, he'll give away his position. Grizzly wandering around downstairs. Does have to worry about these vertical angles. They've cheesed up these walls so that they are viewable, but not traversable. Grizzly tucking himself in here, but he does get taken out despite the FNAP mine triggering. Just not quick enough. Very quick work there made by the attacker. Lamb in the 1 versus 2 does take down Rykos. 1 versus 1. Skies has to set the diffuser, and it's only 1 second left as he presses F. So surely Lamb has enough time to round the corner, take him down, and Lamb in the 1 versus 3 clutch scenario comes up huge. This new exciting prospect. What am I doing with my words? Exciting finishing oh my goodness me. He's an exciting finish prospect. That's what I'm trying to say.
Particle.
There we go.
Finish particle. There we go. That's a name.
I couldn't have got that. I went on like, I just started looping.
It's a team effort, Jerry. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
We're a duo here. The finished particle. There we go. We got it.
Love it. All right.
It works. It works.
There's so many follows coming through. I can't thank everyone because we are trying to put on a vaguely professional sounding cast. Of course, it's good to see everyone coming here. Thank you, especially if you came from Fresh's raid. Love to see the support within the community. I was watching Fresh's stream as he raided me, and so when I said in chat, what did I say? I said, heyo. It counted me as a raider from Fresh on desk, and that took me like a whole 2 minutes to try and comprehend what had gone on there. Twitch is funny sometimes.
Fresh. I've been watching Fresh now throughout, this whole combine myself as well. And, Fresh just added the extra bit of spice to some of these games, Fresh was kind of going off its, similar trend of what we're doing here. We're kind of casting this, trying to keep it semi-professional, and Fresh was just doing as Fresh wanted.
Kind about carrots, always, apparently.
Yeah, here we're trying to find a professional show, and you got Fresh talking about carrots.
I love a good couch cast, though. I love a good couch cast. Here is Rise with the opening frag onto Sky T. Sky T very ballsy there. You don't need to be doing that, but you're playing as the Oryx, you're playing border. He's clearly committed to that idea, wanted to take the opportunity as he saw it. Been punished though. Team Valor now a man up once again, but they still haven't got around to their names to show for it just yet. Warden coming under a lot of pressure. But it's from Candelas, and as we all know, Warden, exceptionally equipped to deal with that kind of utility.
Yeah, Warden is one of those operators that typically when you'd see a defending team bring it, it can deter a lot of D'ing plays that we would see. So, the side of Valor still sticking the Ying, even knowing that a Warden has been played, it just screams to me that they know what they want to do with this Ying, and that their main goal would be to try and get rid of this Warden as quickly as possible, just so that won't be the thorn in the side, which doesn't seem like that has been the case yet. And, yes, they've lost the Oryx, but you're playing Oryx on border. Oryx is going to generally be one of those operators that gets ripped down first, as Oryx is going to play a little more ballsy, as you mentioned. As we said, that Lamb is also going to get felled in the process. That's the Warden taken out. That Ying has now got all the free real estate that she would like. Saying that, you can also go find another one, and that's also going to get ripped down in the process. Yeah,
Calories in a real troubling situation here. Rykos taken out, though, by Grizzly, who's trying to retake the site, but immediately met with that resistance. Nako will gun him down. Junker will take out Nako in response, so good trade, but it's going to have to be a 1 versus 4 clutch here from the ex-tier 1 professional. Junker has to wait. He's being pinged as well. His movement's known as that E1D will herald his location. Rise holding the cross. A steadfast veteran that he is, takes down his opposite number effectively. And that is a round. Finally going the way of Team Valor. 2-1 the score now.
Taking down that Warden so early on, letting the Ying do the thing. What an important key operator to take down, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was Lamb as well on the Warden, which is an interesting choice.
Exactly. Having Lamb on the Warden, again, some people bring the Warden for that 1.5 crutch, as we have pointed out in the past. I'm not gonna shade anyone for bringing the 1.5s anymore, because that's just the state of siege we're in at the minute. It's if you bring a 1.5, you're distinctly at an advantage. So if you're at that advantage, why not bring it in that situation? That's how I look at it. But still, the Warden offers so much, especially since the shields have been nerfed. A lot of people have lost them. Warden still retained his, so that's another reason that you can bring the Warden. And then his guns are great. They're great. He's got full auto SMG 11, which isn't a major use kit, and a 1.5. What's not to love?
Yeah, he's just all round a great operator. That's why we're seeing so much of him right now. So 2-1, as I said, scoreline right now, and Team Valor finally get that round. They may have felt like they've played a little bit better than the round count would deserve so far. Having control of rounds despite you know, that second round, for instance, getting the entry frag, getting in a position to plant, and just losing the 1 versus 2. They're definitely not out of this at all. Calories have been forced to fight for these rounds, and Team Valor finally have a round to show for it now. We're back on that top floor, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. My brain didn't really absorb enough information. I think, yeah, there we go. Of course it is. Rotating first through all those sites. Now we're back on the top floor, Armory defense. And we see Rykos with this drone, a very neat little drone that views all of East Stairs, and he will probably spot Skyty in due course. This is, again, Skyty, the Russian player on the side of Calories. Back on a team with Oscar. Really cool to see that, you know, the ex-Victus pairing now working alongside Kenny. It's one of the scariest prospects in my mind, but Rise isn't worried at all about that prospect. Takes out Skyty, removes him from the server, and another entry kill going the way of Team Valor. Valaries can't... Valaries? Yeah, I said this would happen. I said I would say Valaries at some point.
It happened. It's inevitable. It was bound to happen at some point.
Calories can't let that become a trend.
Who knows? We've had some things happen in the stream today, so who knows? It's a little bit entertaining, so we might as well let it happen. It is a community cast at the end of the day. We have to provide a little bit of entertainment as well, along with a bit of professionalism. But I'll just say that those going to be Rise finding another in the round as he takes down Grizzly, and Lamb is also going to fall into 2 versus 5 situation.
Rise on a Nook. He's finally free of the shackles of wolves, and he's going for the gunning operators, and he's making it work. 2 kills in this round. He's very close to a third as he guns down the top. Triple kill for Rise. Only Oscar remains. Another 1 versus 4 clutch scenario required for Calories to take this round, but don't write off Oscar in any situation. Takes down 1, confirms that kill, but cannot finish off Jackson. The sprays come through the wall. Skies will be there to confirm that kill. A nice little one. Let's see how this works. Lovely little yellow ping guiding him to victory, and they have even the score count. Team Valor with a very dominant pair of rounds back to back.
Very dominant. A lot different from the first 2 rounds we saw, as Team Valor have kind of, you know, they were on the back foot a lot of those first 2 rounds, but now they've just taken the predominance, and they're just kind of spearheading themselves. They're taking the fights to the side of Calories instead of letting Calories kind of play the game they'd like to play, which is what we'd love to see. Showing that dominance is exactly what was needed here from the side of Valor. I almost did what you did there, Jerry, for a second. I had to hold myself.
Ah, but see, you're better. You're good enough to not actually do it. You held
it's
your tongue.
It's going to happen to me now. You've started it, so it's going to happen to me at one point during this cast. I can promise you that.
It's a very... It's so easy. It's such an easy mistake to make. It's right there in front of us, Valerie. It's like, it's going to happen more than once, I'm certain. Either way. Round 5. And we have our AVG... No, AVG? It's our primary site. That's probably why my brain said AVG. Armory defense for Calories now. Once again, attempting this, re-attempting it. I'm not too happy with that last one. They lost bodies far too early. Skyty in particular maybe just overplaying that East Stairs position. We saw him fall back a lot earlier last time around. Maybe that was due to the fact that there was that team kill coming through from Team Valor. And they thought, yep, we can just rest on the man advantage, trade our way to victory, which they did so successfully. But I need to see him get a bit more value from that position. Oscar, he's got to be careful here. Position not necessarily known, as that is a common barricade to just sort of open up and make sure that you scare defenders from rotating too freely around that sort of lobby area. He did have an opportunity to jump out there, decided against it, and it was wise, because of course the Claymore put down by Neko would have ended him.
Yeah, that Claymore would have taken him straight off the map, and he would have been sent back to the waiting screen just for the next round. But I'd say that a lot of control is already being gained here for the side of Valor. As we say that, though, it's going to be Lamb absolutely hitting those shots. Lamb has just shown today how good of a player he is. He's just hitting those shots that is expected of him, and is honestly just a player that we need to be keeping an eye on. Keep watching. Say that Rise hits a nasty shot there onto Grizzly, and now we're left in a 4 versus 4 with 2 minutes on the clock. These rounds have had quite the stamina, to say the least, Jerry. There's nothing. There's no slow-paced rounds anymore. This is all jam-packed action, and it's a beautiful game of Border we're up against.
I mean, it's a great pair of teams, and it's Border. You know, that's what we come to expect when it comes to this kind of map. Jonker still hanging out in break room. He is the doc, so he can stim himself up if he takes any sort of unnecessary flak. And this is the kind of position where you might take, you know, the odd body shot or 2. You might be able to survive for a little bit longer. So a decent operator, and of course the scope to back it up. Sky's very close here to taking down that Doc. Doc will swing towards that East Stairs position, does fall, but Oscar is there with the refrag. Neko, though, and Rise each find a kill for the side of Team Valor, leaving Oscar once again in a 1v3 clutch this time. It might not be a 1 versus 4, but it's still hell to pay, and Skies is just decimating this server. We saw it earlier in their semi-final against Dunlimited. This guy is on a heater today.
Absolute on fire. MVP at the moment is just hitting those shots, showing the kills where they need to be. And Jerry, I said this last game. I'm gonna come back with the psychic telling abilities here for just a second. I can see an overtime again.
Oh no!
I'm not.
Oh no!
I'm not. I know it's the dreaded overtime that everyone seems to hate, but I can see it happening as both these teams are showing such a valuable effort into this game.
Yeah.
If we don't see an overtime, I will be very surprised.
It's definitely a possibility, and your prophecies have 100% accuracy rate so far. So I'm willing to just accept them as fact at this point. So hope you're all ready for an overtime, everybody watching at home. We've got ourselves, of course, the final round of this split. Carries on their final defense, and it is going to be events defense. They've decided that armory hold is just not working out for them. They managed to grab the first attempt, that very first round of the game, but since then, it's been all Valor all the way attacking that top floor. Moving down to the bottom floor makes a little bit of sense. I honestly prefer the bottom floor for pretty much every reason on this map. As a defender, you can hold far more ground. On the top floor, you don't get to hold that ground. You have to give it up. And then immediately, the attackers are at your throats. They're around the site. You have far more buffer rooms that you have the option of controlling. It just allows for a bit more fluid play on the defense. But of course, these sites do have their issues. You have that easy route into the site itself that will make it a difficult task to repel any post-plant, because of course you can hold those angles from outside. We have seen one post-plant victory down here so far. That was with only, 2 attackers left standing. So Calories will hope to put themselves in a bit of a better position come the late round. The Legion of Oscar just finds himself in an engagement on East Stairs. Nako taking out SkyT as well. It's again these two ex-Victors players falling by the wayside early on. They're not having a good day here on Border.
Not having a great day on board. Last map, they had a great one. They had an absolute cracking game. This game has just gone kind of slipped out of hands just a little. But we're seeing the hyper-aggression come out in this game. There's no round has came down to the final dying seconds like, some of the previous rounds we've seen. Everything is all being done within the first 2 minutes. We're rarely seeing 30 seconds on the clock anymore. And that is just the aggressive nature of Border that we typically do see. This is, I don't think anyone watching right now is surprised at what we're seeing. Border is just typically one of those attacker favorite maps. And it's one of those maps that's very, very aggressive. It's a boxy map. It's got long angles. It's just going to be an aggressive gunfight.
Oh, speaking of long angles,
Lamb is going to absolutely rip down one of the Valor members. And now we're going to be left on an equal 3-3 once again, as these sides have split here, as I could see potentially Nako looking to go through the bathroom walls here, try to get a little bit more aggressive into the site, as he is literally knocking on their door at the minute.
Well, it's difficult though when you still have Lamb on the top floor and another Calorie defender up there. You can't afford to wander into that plant spot without clearing them out. You also have a player down inside of the site, just keeping themselves secret for now. Plenty of drones still available for Team Valor if they choose to use them. It's pre-firing common spots though. They don't have that intel. The FNAT mine will make this impossible. Look at that one-sided gunfight. Rice had no chance, but at least he is pinged out, and Grizzly will be felled by Jax on that refrag. The Fuser has to be recovered. They have the ping on a player rotating down into East Stairs waiting room. That is Jonker now locked in a really tough engagement, and it will be Nako to come out on top. The last player alive for the defense is Lamb, holding this vertical. He can win it single-handedly from up here. We've already seen this, a 1 versus 2 from him. Drops down, doesn't land the shot, so that might be the crucial factor. Misses a few, does get Nako on the transfer though. 1 HP left on the Warden. Jax still has diffuser, 20 seconds though this time. Can try and get it down straight away. Lamb can't hear this, has to play off his instincts. 15 seconds left, rounds the corner, pushes through that barbed wire. That's the sound cue. Jax has a red ping on his side as well. Surely has the wherewithal to close this out, but Lamb's swing might be better. No, it isn't. Lamb downed and out by the 417 of Jax on the Twitch. And again, Valor take a clean-ish attacking round, putting themselves 4-2 up. 4 in a row.
4-2 up on Border. This is typical though. This is very, very typical to what we see normally, Jerry. Having that kind of split, it leaves the side of Valor in an absolute great position, but the defense on Border is such more difficult than the attack. This game, I'm going to fully stick with my words here and say this is going OT. I cannot see this being closed out in regulation. I physically cannot see that happening.
That was a tense round. That was a very, very tense round. Lamb, if he lands that first pair of shots, or the first set of shots onto the player inside of the site, absolutely takes that. 100% you back him. But just a couple of missed shots, not enough damage through the wall. And Jax was good enough in the post bomb. We've seen today already from Jax some truly incredible plays. An ace he hit on Cafe against Dunlimited, just single-handedly playing Protect the President as Rise had been downed. And that was a real highlight play for him. He'll be treasuring that one. But you know, everyone on the side of Team Valor has had their moments. Everyone chips in, and that's the scary thing about it. When you're looking at a roster that contains Rise, and he's going 8-3, this is a guy who famously dropped a donut in an EUL game. Like, he's not known for fragging, and he is putting some serious numbers up right now on this side. And like I said, it feels like he's been let loose a little bit. Come down a few ranks, you have to say, of course, with the heady heights of Wolves behind him. But he's been allowed to play his game now, and it's pretty exciting to see. But same for the rest of Valor.
The rest of Valor, they're all working in one cohesion. They're not. No one is single-handedly. You know, Rise, we've mentioned, is doing absolute bits at the minute. But you've also got Nago, who's also going 7-5. He's putting in the work as well. There's no one single-handedly just dragging them through. But you know, no one's been brought through this game. Everyone's playing their part. But as we say that, though, it's going to be Oscar to find one. As Oscar has seemingly finally activated, hopefully we get to see him put in more of these gunfights. As you know, he's shown time and time again what he can do, and it's obviously it's only great to watch Oscar play. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, certainly one of the easier kills he's ever gotten, that one, to be fair. But you know, getting a kill, no matter how you do it, is going to make a bit of a difference. Nate comes out, and it may claim Rise if it's well timed, but no, it doesn't. And we duck back. We have a drone, SkyT's drone, on the Warden of Skies, and he looks like he's about to wander into a crossfire. Aware of the risk, SkyT will take him out. Blimey, we've flipped around quite a lot there. Oscar comes out on top in the 3 versus 2, as Calories have that man advantage now, but Nako sends him back 2 versus 2 now. And it feels as though, you know, every single round we get a free kill on East Stairs, and then after that there's an explosion of kills. And 1 minute 25, Grizzly and Jonker, the back line of this Calories lineup, have to try and pin down these anchors.
And not only are they only trying to pin down these anchors, you're going to be up against the 2 strongest hitting members on the side of Valor at this very second. Rise doing absolutely insane. Same with Nako. This is going to be a very, very tough answer here for this side of Calories. As we said, that those Grizzly going to find one onto Nako. It's all going down here to Rise in this 1-on-2 situation with everything to play. But it's going to be Grizzly with that DMR in hand, takes down Rise, and puts Calories finally back on the scoreboard after losing 4 rounds.
Solid hands to leave it in with Calories. You know, Jonker and Grizzly, these are players with extensive tier 1 experience, both of them. And like we say, we're kind of watching 2 teams here going at each other that have that to lean on, right? You've got Rise on the side of Team Valor, you've got Jonker, and now Grizzly on this X10 star Calories lineup. And this kind of player and this style of play just elevates all of them around, all of the others around them, right? It's going to make a big difference. Death Row were already a scary roster, even without Rise, and now they look pretty damn tough. Calories, this is a team that historically have just fed players constantly through their system, up through the ranks, and into Tier 1. And then become a useful kind of nesting ground for Tier 1 players that have maybe fallen short of the mark and need a way back in. And they're making their impact known as well. It's exciting to see Grizzly and Jonker sort of, you know, picking up the pieces and making a big difference in these games as well. So I love the fact that we've got these storylines coming into the Combine, and that the Tier 1 teams awaiting them at the end of it are none other than we've got M&M and Wolves. So imagine Team Valor get through to the finals. You could see Rise versus old team.
That would be one of the games to definitely highlight if that does happen. You know, there's again to mention that, as you said, the storylines that has been built up coming into this Combine, and especially from the last couple of years as well. It's just absolutely insane. You know, there's so much history and everything behind all of these teams, especially all the players. It's great when there's just these little rivalries. You know, it's all friendly at the end of the day. We have to clarify that, but it's just a little rivalries, a little bit of, you know, just good sportsmanship. It's absolutely amazing to see. I love it.
All right. So the French majority roster at the moment of Team Valor sitting on top. Lamb making his entry into East Stairs. Let's see this time if anyone on the side of Team Valor is going to give up their life so easily on this side of the map. It was a worrying trend for Calories on their defense, as Valor have already suffered the fate once. They won't want to keep that the case moving forward. Nako lurking down here inside of CCTV. Does get droned out. Takes a Twitch drone down with him. That's a bit of high-value utility lost for the attack. But Skyty is the one to actually find the entry on the other side. Walks on into Skies, who's hiding inside of Office. Now Rise close by. Sends out a C4. Unless he gets very lucky, that's not going to connect. Oh, a little bit later, and it would have, as the Vault animation would have locked the player into it. But just outside the range. Now we've got that 4 versus 4 scenario. Nako still undealt with. They know he's there. Are they simply ignoring him? Will he bite them in the back? They're
simply ignoring him is not going to be the play. As we say that, though, it's going to be Lamb to find Nako, as he's going to get taken out by Rise. As Rise is just going to sit in the corner here in the fountain area, and it's all going to be left down here 2-2 versus 3. We're still at a minute 20 on the clock. These rounds are going at such a high, fast pace here, Jared. It's just, we have to love this kind of siege we're seeing. It's all so fast. There's nothing coming down to the wire like we normally do see, especially like that last game on Villa. We had a game on Villa. Everything came to the wire. This game, everything's done in the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's absolutely lovely to see.
That was an 8-7 as well, so it was one of possibly the longest games that we've had in this bracket. And Team Valor were just sitting and waiting. You know, they've had plenty of time to twiddle their thumbs, watch a bit of Calories action, take in what they can, and read into this side. And so far, it looks as though maybe that little bit of extra downtime has given them something to lean on. Some headshots come through, pair of them from Rykos as he just crouches, holds down mouse button, controls that recoil, and nails the headshots. 2 red pings as well, helping him out. So a fully red final execute. A little last gasp effort there from Calories to try and push this round through. Doesn't come to fruition though. 5-3 the scoreline. Team Valor very close to that finish line now.
Very, very close. They're inching themselves closer as these rounds go on. And I'm still going to stand firm in my ground of saying overtime, but we're going to have to see Calories come back with something a little bit stronger. These last couple rounds have been a little bit lackluster from them, to say the least. So we just need that little bit more of aggression from the side of Calories. Just kind of stack up on each other a little more, be able to catch those refrags when they are gained. As we saw last round, Oscar was lost within the kind of first 30 seconds of the round. There was no refrag to claim anyone else for his life. So if we can see them all kind of even just stacking up with each other a little bit better, just kind of really playing for those refrags, we could see a very, very close game between these two.
There are definite signs on both sides, but I would say more so for Calories, of a team in a formative stage, right? Some mistakes, some kind of mismanagement of rounds, mismanagement of games that we've seen not only in this match, but in prior ones that you wouldn't have expected of the old 10-star. And similarly, even with Death Road, but to be fair, that, like I say, it feels like it's less of the case with Valor here, because Rise has those kind of steady shoulders, and there's been less of a changing of the guard in their respect. You know, Calories have had very late changes as far as this roster is concerned. They really haven't had long to practice together, and it's incredible that they've made it this far, quite honestly, off of the back of such late kind of creation. You know, this team didn't really exist until not that long ago recently, so it's good to see them make the distance, and it's very promising for their future, their long-term prospects.
Again, something I mentioned, you know, these kind of teams are kind of just new and they're kind of up and coming essentially. Yes, they've got some really powerful skill. As we say that nade almost taking out Rise, as he almost losing his life very early on. But he is going to just remain on a little bit of HP, just not enough to take him down. But just to segue back to that point just quickly, these teams, you know, they're quite a lot of old players that have been around in Siege quite a while. So there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of knowledge with them. But once they kind of get that team chemistry kind of down on point and they've played for long enough, that is going to be one hell of a scary team to be coming against.
Calories still just probing, prodding the Wasp's nest. Looking for a bit of an opening. We can see, of course, Rykos just toying with that ground. He doesn't quite know what's safe, what's not at this point. And Nako is in seriously dangerous territory. He could instantly get swung on. Any drone in his direction could spell his demise, so he needs to be very careful here. There is one lurking just outside of that CC window, and he turns his back on him. Oscar will take that every day of the week. Very easy job to clean up that kill, and it feels like as soon as we started seeing Nako just wandering around CCTV, you knew he was a dead man.
Oscar was there welcomed with open arms and just took his life. And this run is definitely looking a lot stronger here for calories as they've got the man count and they've rise. So we say that though, that's going to be a double kill coming out there against the side of calories as they're now going to fall into a 2 versus 3. This round, what has happened?
Oh, calories have just lost the plot here. That incredible kill, incredible pair of kills from Jax through the wall. Double kill onto Metal Stairs and completely unseating this Calories attack. All up to Yonka now, 1 versus 3. And it really does feel like we're in a situation that we didn't expect. You know, how has this happened? He does have no A Selma charges in pocket left. His position being read into by that bulletproof cam. He can't do anything about it. C4 sent his way, will not connect and rise down before he can detonate it. Gets forward, takes out that mirror window. Expects a long-range angle being held by Jax here. Does take him down. 1 versus 1 from the 1v3, but Rykos is there to shut it down. Such a good effort from Jonka. But Team Valor, they've put themselves onto match point with that.
We are now on. There's no more room for mistakes here, Jerry. This is it. This is everything comes down to this. If you're the side of Calories, you cannot afford to make a single mistake. You cannot put a foot out of line here. You have 3 more rounds to even bring this out of regulation. The workload is going to be immense here for them.
Yep, and there's a lot on the line here. This is, of course, the grand final of the R6 Combine Open Qual number 1. There are 3 more of these. 1 tomorrow, 1 next week, 2 next week rather, on the weekend. Each of them, you can get 100 points from maximum. The winner of this game will get that full total, as they will be top of the pile. And this loser will come short with only 75. But it's still a decent tally. Just making it this far puts you in pretty good stead come the end of all these open quals to be part of the R6 Combine Division Clash phase. So both of these teams, maybe they've already done enough, but if they win this, it's pretty much mathematically certain that you will be part of the next stage. So still very high stakes here, and Calories don't want to miss out on this opportunity. 3 perfect rounds is what they need to keep themselves in with a chance of getting that full tally of 100 points for this qualifier. Team Valor, just 1 round away from gaining it for themselves. So we have ourselves a bathroom defense here. And Oscar just taking a lot of flack in the opening of that round there. Didn't quite catch that myself. There's a little bit of a tech issue on our end that we were sorting with. Jax takes a lot of flack though. SkyT sends it full on into Armory. Skies will return fire, taking down SkyT. Likey though has found, or Lambe rather, has found Jax in the meantime. This mirror window is a real problem for them. Skies takes down Jonka as well. And it looks as though Calories, they've met a real impasse here. Rykel's going to get aggressive, but that cost him his life. Lamb with his 2nd kill of the round, keeping Calories in it. Diffuser has been downed in an awkward position by Metal, but Skies with a triple on the round, still lurking. Where has his man been? Around East Stairs. Neko almost threads the needle and gets himself a free kill there, but at this point, Team Valor are in the ascendancy. They don't need to worry. Lamb has control above, but Team Valor have 1 minute and 50 to defend against these last few defenders. Attackers, Skies with a quad. He's run rampant on this top floor, Rose. Grizzly now left in the 1 versus 3, but it could be an ace to see it through if Skies wants to get that tally to his name. Looks like he's going to back away and play it safe. Grizzly, you've got a lot to do here.
A lot to do here. Still ample amount of time here on the clock. But you've got the mental now for the side of Valor here. You know, Skies just after popping off with a 4K, and he's still rampant. He has not been shut down yet. This is not a situation, if you're Grizzly, you'd like to be in. Oh, everything is to play for here as he's going to try and push his way down. And it's just all going to be a bit of a bottleneck here as the castle barricades are going to be preventing him from moving anywhere around this site. As, you know, the full top floor is under the control. Diffuser is now also going to get picked up as well. Well, he's got a minute left and so much utility to try and clear away.
And it is the ace from Skies. Incredible round. He made us wait. He made us wait for that one. But an ace at the end. Team Valor send themselves through to effectively the 2nd phase of the Combine. And that is a brilliant, brilliant performance. Skies really, really showing his true colours today. A similar performance, quite honestly, is what we came to expect after seeing that game over on Cafe with Dunlimited. He was absolutely all over the map. And that game was just a a masterclass from Team Valor. They showed us that even in that final round, they were able to deliver a really flummoxing setup. You know, the side of Calories had no idea how to deal with the mirror. That's castle barricade at the very end just confused the hell out of Yonke. He was like, what can I do at this point?
There was not a lot of room there for any mistake to be made, and unfortunately the side of Valor, they had everything down under key. They knew what to do. They had the angles being watched. Everything was just against the side of Calories here. Calories put up on an absolute amazing, immaculate fight there on the map of Villa, but unfortunately it just felt a little bit too short as we headed into Border, as it seemed Border was a little bit too more heavy, aggressive on the gunfights for them. Quite unfortunate to say the least, Jerry.
Yeah, very fortunate though if you're a Team Valor fan, as of course that effectively books their spot in the next phase of the Combine. So congratulations to them. Calories may have to wait a little bit longer, but if they can replicate that sort of performance tomorrow, then there will be a shoe-in as well. We've seen a lot of big teams go out during this weekend, and well, during the first day of this weekend. Let's have a quick look at the bracket just to sort of sum up the day. So we've got ourselves we'll start from the final and work. Maybe where we don't start from the final, work backwards. This is the problem, is that this is a difficult to navigate site in some ways, right? We have to scroll very far to see all of the games. I'm just going to go from the kind of quarterfinals onwards, so round 5. Let's have a look here. So Samba versus Barnes Trusted Dinosaurs. That was the game that we were waiting to finish for really, really long. It kind of delayed the whole bracket. Barney's Trusted Dinosaurs came out on top there. Came up against the winner of KT versus Calories, which was, of course, Calories. We saw that game. What a banger on Villa that semi-final was, by the way. Just go back and watch that if you haven't already. Calories came out on top 8-7. We'll scroll down here to the semi-finals and, well, the quarterfinals. We'll get to that one in a moment because that was so dramatic. Team Valor beat White Tiger 7-1 very comfortably to meet up with a Dunlimited in the semi-final earlier. The reason that Dunlimited was there is that they got a bye in the quarter-final. This feels like days ago, but it was only hours, Rose. Do you remember? I mean, Eminem Academy and UCAN Esports, this drama was just hilarious.
The drama. You try to protest us? Don't worry, we'll protest you back.
Exactly.
Eliminate us both out. You're going down, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
That's sort of the situation. It was basically it wasn't a great situation for either team. Unfortunately, both suffered the consequences of their actions, and it just led to unfortunate events. Great for Dunlimited, if you're a Dunlimited fan. Yeah. It was great for you, but for everyone else involved, not so lucky, to say the least.
Absolutely. The moral of that story is run Moss and make sure that it's submitted, because it was so unfortunate the way that panned out for Eminem Academy. Also, UCAN Esports, just, get out of here. Get out of here. We don't want you. Just go. Bugger off, right? Like, don't cheat. Don't field an underage player. It's simple as that. Anyway, fully deserved ousting of UCAN, but Eminem Academy going down with them is a real loss. They'll put that behind them for tomorrow and hopefully be a little bit more fortunate and make sure that they submit mosses and stuff tomorrow. So yeah, they won't make the same mistake twice. Basically, Dunlimited and Team Valor, that semi-final was a real kind of washout, actually. Valor really sweeping aside Dunlimited on Cafe. And then similarly on Border, in terms of the performance, that was a Valor game. They have shown themselves to be possibly the best team here.
Valor showed absolutely amazing strengths in that last game. I think Border really favoured them into how they wanted to play the game. They really brought the game to the side of Calories. Calories didn't really have a chance to make the game for themselves. It was all just a case of, oh, Calories, you're doing this, and whether you like it or not, you're playing our sort of game. We're not letting you do what you want.
Yeah.
And that worked out so well for them. And again, Border being that kind of more aggressive gun skill map just really played into the hands. You've got players like Rise, for example, which, of course, Rise is going to frag when you let him do his thing, which is great to see, seeing as, he's not on the, he's, moved away from the Wolves a bit and is now kind of led to his own devices, essentially. Yeah. It's great to see what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. He's been sort of restrained for so long among a team of incredible gunners, for good reason. He was a fantastic IGL. Obviously, they've moved on from him now, but jumping into this team, having a little bit more freedom, it's a very scary prospect, and we got to see the fruits of their labours for that Team Valor side. So yeah, very, very exciting stuff. And of course, we get this all again tomorrow, don't we, Rose? But I'm saddened to say, because it's been such a wonderful experience with you, that that is it for your time here on the channel. I'll be joined by someone else. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Rose. Is there anything you want to say before I close things out?
That's everything. Thanks for having me here, Jerry. It's been an absolute great evening. We've had some amazing Siege. I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
Nice.
What a time we've had.
Great. I just have to echo that sentiment. Thank you very much for being here. It's been great. It's been very good to have someone so insightful and precise and clean as well on the desk. You know, like I was stumbling over my words more than you were. You've got such a great command of vocabulary. It's absolutely great to listen to you talk. So I hope to see more of you in the future. And as for everyone else, everyone that's here, thank you so much for coming, especially those of you that came by from the raid from Fresh. We do love a bit of Fresh action. I'll be watching him for the early parts of tomorrow, doing the same sort of thing today, jumping as tomorrow as I have done today, jumping on in the quarterfinals, the later stages of the bracket, just to see it out, because these are long old days, you know, 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. We don't want to do all of that, so we're going to stagger things out. Fresh has got me covered for the first part, I'm sure of it. Anyway, thank you very much for coming along, and we'll see you again fairly soon, you know, tomorrow afternoon. Come by and enjoy the siege.